Good to go?
Yeah, we're good to go. You're Mike, right?
Yes, sir.
Etherington?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm Joel Gibson. I work at the Sheriff's Office.
Nice.
I talked to you on the phone.
You did?
Yeah, I guess it was probably, Wednesday, Thursday?
I called and I talked to Janie and someone else. I may have been.
Okay, you was talking to Janie and then you talked to me
Okay.
for a little bit.
Alright. I talked to her for a long time.
Yeah.
And then I told her just about, I spilled the beans. I mean, everything that we've always just kept under the covers from high school, just overlooked and like, well, Brandon's just weird, you know. Once this happens, like, you know. I mean, I'm not calling myself like an enemy of him, but,
Right.
you know, once he started doing all that, I was telling him, it's a big, long little story, you know. And it starts back around January of this year, whenever he started, you know, coming out of his shell about things, which, you know, it's, like I said, it's nothing that is rapid, because all through his whole life, he's always been the kind that, you know, it doesn't surprise you the way he turned out, and just how, you know, he's always tried to be the person. It's just, it goes on. I'll have to tell all that, I guess, for the video. Start from the beginning.
Just get a little bit of information here. How do you spell your last name?
Etherington.
I'll let you start my interview notes, I'll let you. Yeah. Did Joel introduce himself? This is
Yes.
Joel Gibson. I'm Jeff Collins.
My
And I know we didn't,
Yeah.
you've been in my office, but I didn't
Cool.
introduce myself to you, so. 1025 at 250.
I didn't know whether I should keep to myself, because I was thinking last night, because everything I told, some major things that I told were, like, put on the news. And it's just, he knows that only me, Dustin, and Joe know of these things.
Well, here's the thing, though. We had to use that stuff for
Well, I
probable
understand.
cause.
Yeah.
And once you arrest somebody, then they can't withhold that probable cause affidavit. And we were trying to keep as much out as we possibly
it's just,
could.
after that, it's like, I mean, I had phone calls saying, because, I mean, I've told, you know, other, like, really close friends to me, and all my friends were calling me, like, dude, what, you remember whenever Brandon at the cats? And they were like, yeah, well, that was on the news and stuff. And I just said, I said, I'd like to stay out of his best, or at least let my face not be seen.
Sure.
You know, I don't mind my information being given, but
Sure.
I just, you know, I was like, Mom, how old do you have to be to get a concealed handgun? Because I don't trust this kid. And his friends that he's now got these days, I don't trust him at all.
Right.
So.
Well, I don't think you got anything to worry about.
Yeah, in time I'm calming down, but after yesterday, seeing that on the news and all them phone calls, I was just,
I can understand. Wait, is it Michael? Is that the
Yes,
first
sir.
name? And what's your middle name?
Gregory.
Are you a junior or?
I'm a freshman at
No, I'm sorry, a junior, senior, the second. You're not
Oh,
named
no,
after your dad. I'm sorry.
Just straight
Okay.
Michael, yeah. I was thinking.
No, I understand. What's your date of birth? Is that right? I'm
That's cool.
but I graduated in '86, so that's a little bit more. You're one though. You were actually young for your class, weren't you?
Oh yeah.
I was always the youngest one. Yeah.
I didn't turn 18 until after graduation.
What are you, 18 now?
I'm 18 now.
And blonde and blue, blonde and brown.
Brown.
Brown and brown.
Michael weird brown and brown.
Okay. What's your height and weight?
It's pushing up 6'1" at 165.
Okay. You know what your driver's license number is? How about social? And are you employed right now, or are you
Yes,
just
sir.
student?
Yes.
Where do you work?
Two different jobs.
What's the most full-time job? You a mechanic or work work on the cars?
Mechanic can work behind a desk, just
Okay.
keeping up with the place.
I doubt you'll ever be called there, but I just wanted to ask.
I usually have it forwarded to my work cell, so it's not going to make a difference.
What's the address?
It's where I live, and I live at 75088.
Then your home address?
And that's Rockwall. 75087.
Okay. So you live at home?
Yes.
Okay. All right. You already know all this stuff, Mike, but is Mike all right?
That's perfect.
Is that what everybody else
It's
calls
only
you?
Michael on paper.
Okay. We're investigating capital murder, and I believe you contacted us just because of some current concerns that you had.
Yes, sir. That was the morning that I found out, or the day.
Okay. And really, I guess what I'd like for you to do, because you've made some telephone calls here to the sheriff's office and expressed concerns of things, but we don't have any of that documented other than us writing it down. And of course, we've used some of that, for probable cause and all. So what I need you to do is just kind of to start from, why you became concerned, and why you called the sheriff's office, and then what you've already given the sheriff's office so far up to this point, and then we can probably work our way back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now I can say that. I mean, do you want me to start kind of like a storyline of Brandon? Because that's kind of what I've kind of given was a storyline, but all the nasty events started taking place since about March 2005 till now.
Maybe whatever you feel most comfortable with, as far as how it's easiest for you to, to get everything out without missing anything.
There's a lot of background on him that kind of leads up, so it's not like something just changed at an instant. It's just stuff that has built up throughout the years that it doesn't surprise me that he's become. That's what I'm saying. That who he's become is who I'll explain in the end.
Okay, but I want you to understand. I'm not just here to listen to bad stuff on Brandon. Just because he's incarcerated right now.
Yeah, I understand.
Doesn't mean we need to know everything, good and bad. Okay, and because if there's been a transformation or if you're friends and stuff like that, I need to know, what your friendship was like, and then what happened to cause a change in the friendship or whatever. So, but you said you're a freshman right now.
I'm a freshman at Eastville. Yes, sir.
Is that in?
It's off of Mesquite, off of Motley.
Okay.
That's where I'm at.
Okay. What are you? And are you full time there?
I'm full time. Well,
taking
should
15
be full
hours.
Time, but one of my classes is 1 hour, so I'm stuck with 10 hours, but it should have been 12, 13 hours. So,
oh, okay. So, okay. And what are you majoring in?
Business administration.
Okay. Are you going to stay there? Or are you
I'm going to stay there and then transfer, stay there for another year, I'm guessing, and then transfer to UTD to finish off with.
Oh.
So that's about it.
University of Texas?
Yes, sir. The Dallas one.
Is there one in Dallas? I thought it was UTA.
There's UTA and there's now UTD up in Richardson. George Bush in 75, I believe, goes into it.
Okay. So, and that's what you've always kind of wanted to do, or did you have aspirations of going?
I wanted to own my own business, and it's always kind of been that way, my own boss, blah, blah. So now what I wanted, what kind of business has changed, here and there. But
what kind of business?
Oh, well, it's evolved from, I used to doodle a lot, and I did graphic designs, and I actually started doing that little business, and once I got ran over about 3 times, I said, I'm going at it too hard, so backed out of that, and but ever since then, since like 13 years old, I've always been really into cars and everything, and 15, I got my car, so I've been working on it a lot, taking after my dad and my grandpa, and so I'm kind of leaning to automotive shop, or collision, some kind of automotive business.
But you don't want to work for somebody else, you want your own business.
Yeah, it's basically, because I've ran my own hours, done everything, made all the calls and stuff, and like I've had a lot of kind of management type positions ever since, I was little, and I started working since I was like 13, doing little small odd jobs for people, and then Rick Dirty pulled me in and just told me basically he stays in the office in his house,
Mm-hmm.
and just said, you take care of everything outside, and everything on the property you take care of. If you need anything, let me know, and you make all the shots. So
Who is that?
it's an accounting firm, tax planning, some deal like that,
Mm-hmm.
and so we knew him through horses and stuff like that. So
Well, what kind of stuff did you do for him?
Take care of his horses, clean his stalls, feed them, landscaping around the property, any fence repairs or anything like that, and take care of all of his yards and stuff. And
Okay.
it kept me busy. And then now, once I graduated high school, I had more time on my hands, so
Mm-hmm.
I pulled in the second job of working at the automotive center now that I'm 18. So.
Okay. And you said body work, so.
Well, I was thinking of that. I'm not just the best at that, but I'm really good at mechanic work,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just know that the way the cars are running these days, mechanic's not going to last but for another 20 years or so. And,
Oh, really?
you think that? The way the cars are evolving, it's becoming too critical, and it's going to become almost like an oligopoly of, who's going to run the automotive mechanic world,
Right.
So there's going to be only but a few select businesses that are going to be able to succeed in that. So I'm thinking of doing collision, because there's always, as long as there's a car on the road of any type,
there's going to be. Well, but anything mechanical breaks down.
Yeah, that's true. But when it starts becoming computers, it's going to be, take a technician or some kind of, computer engineer to figure out that. I don't want to.
You're going to college, though. I mean, you could get.
Yeah, but I don't want to do the dirty work, I've got a good lead on how businesses are ran, and I've worked for a bunch of business owners, and so I've kind of gotten the insight on some things, and did really well in economics and the government classes, and every time, everything that comes our way with that.
You said you take after your dad and your grandfather?
No? Yeah, when it comes to cars. My grandfather was, I don't know exactly, but he worked for GM, some kind of engineer for GM or something like that, and then my dad, he worked a lot on cars. Like, my dad was 16 years old, building his own drag racers and stuff, going out to the drag strips and winning and everything like that. And I was like, he's pretty good at that.
Well, I talked to your mom, and she said that your dad and she have not been together. I don't know how long.
I was 2 years old, leading at 16 years, I believe.
16 years they've been divorced.
16 divorced.
Okay, but you sound like you're pretty close to your dad.
Yeah. The older I get, the more close I seem to get, the more the things start to get settled down. Divorce goes, mom, dad.
Well, it's hard. I understand that.
Your mom this, your dad this, and so a little kid, you're caught up in the middle of things, Getting older, you seem to get to know the real person that they are, So you look at them in a more mature stance instead of, well, mom told me this about you, or dad told me this.
Does he live close enough to where he was?
Austin.
Yeah,
he's way down there. We hardly saw him, so.
Okay, so really your mom is the one who raised you,
and
she said she was the disciplinarian, and
my dad was just a visitation once every month or two. So
okay.
That's about it.
Okay. But you got a real good relationship with your mom, it looks like.
Yeah, we're close. It's at that phase where it's like, the age where you want to move out and stuff like that, and it's like, she'll give me a call, and I'm working, 2 jobs, and I'll be at the shop working on a car. She'll, you need to come home and feed the horses or something. And I'm like, I can't just drop things. And she's like, what? I was like, I don't call you and, tell you to come out to Rockwall from Dallas to come do this and stuff. Just little, stuff like that.
Right.
It's just like, but I guess you got to get through it. So.
Right.
So that's where we stand. But yeah, we're close, And our grandma lived with us, and, it wasn't, she kind of favored my brother, whatnot, my grandma.
Mm-hmm.
And she'd always bail him out of trouble, do anything, and go behind my mom's back. And So my mom would always, try to help me out, stuff like that, knowing that my grandma's always got the lead over my brother.
Right. That's older brother? Do you
yes,
just
sir.
have one
I just have
sibling?
one older. I have two little half brothers down at my dad's. So.
Okay.
But yeah, my older brother, he's in the Army.
Okay. How much older?
He's 18. I keep thinking 18, 16. He's 2 years older, so they put him 20 now.
Okay.
20, I believe.
Okay. And growing up, were y'all pretty close?
Yeah, I was the punching bag, and
well, that's what little brothers are for.
That's where
right?
I could not walk by him. I'd also have to flex my arms, and he was right in the arm for no reason. It was like.
Did it make you tougher though?
Yeah,
I've got 3 boys, and I see it.
I remember one day he was carrying a set of towels, and he came by and shoved me, and I turned around out of nowhere and just right across his cheek. He dropped it. He was surprised. He dropped the towels and stumbled against the wall and shocked him to death. I ran downstairs and locked myself in the bathroom. What could you do? I knew I hit him, and it was crazy. So.
But y'all get along all right?
Yeah, but now that we're older, we get along, and he's kind of takes him about 3 times to learn a life lesson. You know what I'm saying? So usually I can catch on pretty quick. So he's learned that about the two of us. So I notice he's giving me more respect, and he'll tell me he respects that about me and stuff. So that I'm not just some class idiot.
Right.
So,
and how were you at Rockwall? That's where you went to high school, right?
Yes, sir.
You do all right in grades?
Oh, yeah. I had like a 3.75 GPA, something like that.
Okay.
At Rockwall, you got to have a 4.3 or whatnot to get at least in the top quarter almost. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Lots of smart folks?
Oh, yeah. Big time. I don't understand. My girlfriend at her school in Charla, it takes like a 3.2 to get in the National Honor Society. Mm-hmm. It took a 4.2 over in Rockwall, and so I feel like an idiot going to all for National Honor Society events.
But a 4.0 is an A average. Is that with all the honors classes or something where they tack on the 10 points?
Exactly, yeah. So I was, so she's, she has a lower GPA than I did, but still she has more of these academic awards and stuff because of the, requirement and criteria. So I feel like an idiot at times, but, it's kind of funny how she'll come to me for help with her schoolwork and everything. So.
Right. But she's still in school right now?
Yes, sir. She's a senior. So
right. What's her name?
Lindsay Mitchell. And we're the same age, but she was, I was the younger kid of the group. Mm-hmm. Her birthday was in September, so she was put in the grade behind me.
Sure. Okay.
That's about where it is.
Okay. How long have you known the Woodruffs?
I was talking to my mom last night, and I put it down to 7. I was 7 years old. Because in 4-H, you got to be 8 to enter, to be able to enter into it. And my brother, I don't think got in it. I don't know if he got in at 8 years old or not, but I know that Charla was a year behind him. So if my brother was in at 8, then I was 6, but then a year later, Charla got in, and she was 9 at the time, I'm guessing. So, and then Brandon, I remember seeing Brandon, his little brother, and we were too young to be in 4-H, but that's how we just kind of known and started hanging out. And then, so since I was 7 years old, and then every year, see him all the time and hanging out with them and stuff. And me and Brandon didn't really exactly hang out, like in spare time, of course, because we didn't have a driver's license and stuff like that.
Right.
But we each went to different middle schools, but, every 4-H meeting, we'd always be buddied up together and we'd hang out and stuff during the 4-H meetings. Middle school, we didn't really hang out much. That's whenever he was in middle school. Oh, Lord, he was just like, he was the kid that you only hear about, He would wear certain things. He had these trash bag pants, and it was like, seriously, like, it was this weird looking plastic, like vinyl leather stuff, whatever, and they were just this huge deal that just would, it was just the weirdest thing.
Like MC Hammer pants or something?
Worse. Like baggies, like I'm talking like baggies can be, and they just drape, and he wore them and stuff, and he was just a character and a half. He he did the animals and stuff like that, but you never would have thought. And so,
so he didn't dress country?
No, he didn't start doing that until me and Joe Hageman got him into that our freshman year, because me and Joe, Matt and Jerry were our older brothers, and they're the same age, and they did the whole country thing, and me and Joe kind of caught into it at the end of our 8th grade year, and then freshman year, me, Joe, and Brandon were put in, to the freshman center, and this is before Dustin started hanging out with us, but this is it was us 3 that would hang out that year. And it was just, we were just little 3 musketeers almost. We'd run around. We had a great relationship. Brandon would always kind of get himself in trouble. You know, he's a really outgoing kid and always have to be the center of attention. He'd always, you know, he'd still wear the trash bag pants, and that's what he's known for at the school. He's like, hey, Brandon, we're going to wear those pants or whatever. And he was really school spirited. Anytime like high school or the senior homecoming, there we go. We come around, we have every day of the week there's something special.
Right.
Or he had to be the one to win every day or something like that.
Right. And would he?
He would. I mean, this kid would go all out. And, I mean, I have pictures in the yearbook where senior year he'd put on his sister's old cheerleading outfit, have his face painted stuff, and he'd go to the games and, you know, he'd get down and he'd be the clown of the, you know, all the audience, you know, at the basketball games for the girls' basketball. And, I mean, he's just always had to be at the top, you know, center of attention type. You know, and it was funny too, you know, and it was like that all through high school. Now our sophomore and junior year we hung out some, but sophomore year I was kind of away from all of them. And Brandon didn't really hang out with us, you know, that much either, you know, because he kind of, the end of our freshman, I should say, we started, you know, we were all close and stuff. We started wearing the country gear and stuff like that. And sorry I jumped ahead, but going back to freshman, I'm going to do like a timeline here, but freshman, you know, he would, all that stuff, and he started wearing the country gear and stuff like that. So we're, you know, the three kids that wore it, like the whole school. And, you know, we'd all get antagonized about certain stuff. And, but Brandon he had a mouth, or I don't know if he didn't really have a mouth, but he had the, you know, the attitude, and he gets all excited. You know, that's what he gets his rush from, was, you know, getting other people, antagonizing type. And so next thing you know, it'd be, Mike, come on, hurry up, we got to go to the cafeteria or something like that. Brandon's about to get in some fight with some kid or whatnot. You know, I'd go in there, and Brandon, you know, he's not that big. He's a little skinny guy. And so I'd always been the kind that, you know, I was raised with a brother that would protect me, you know. So I was just like, I'm going to protect my friends, you know, because obviously he can't do much for himself. I don't know how many times we just, you know, that he'd always nearly get me into fights. And I remember one time I was sitting there eating lunch, and he comes over there with, oh man, this kid's after me, whatnot. And next thing you know, the kid's sitting in front of me, and I look up, and I was like, can I help you? And he goes, what did you call me, a chink? And he just swings at me. And I'm like, I jump back like this, and like I'm getting up and everything, and the kid starts coming around, he's going to come after me. And I take off my brand new watch, you know, my Montana swordsman watch. I take it off. I said, I'm ready to hold that because this kid's probably going to do something. And then the bell rang, and then the principals came up. You know, it's just, I was kind of, you know, like a little protector type deal. He'd always rely on me.
So, but you're telling us that Brandon then wasn't much of a fighter, or
yeah, he was just
not
a little
tough.
He was always like the whole, you know, he didn't have a lot of bark, but whenever it came down to it, he, you know,
kind of instigator type.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but this all changes though, is the thing, you know. I'm saying, like, now is like the point of it is like he's always the crazy one, you know. He would, you know, he'd break up Smarties and snort them just for attention, you know, to get ever. He'd always have to be the one to be the crazy one and stuff like that.
What are you talking about on that?
I mean, even our freshman year he did that, and we were all like, I can't believe he did that. And then senior year he did it again in our ag class, and you know, in front of all the kids, he'd crumble up Smarties, and we're just
you know
like,
what Smarties are? No, you don't have kids. They're like sweet tarts, but they're cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not so
they're
sour.
Not even good.
Yeah.
I mean,
oh, they're good. Come on, I'll be dogging Smarties.
It's like they're good, straight sugar.
They are.
I'd rather have the sweet tarts, but so he'd crush those up.
Yeah, he'd put them in a line. He'd just play with it, you know. Like, and we're like, hey, how you so good at that? You know, just give him a hard time. But that was all of our senior year. But we'll get there. But you know, just like I said, sophomore year, I kind of strayed apart because I gotten out of the whole year. I was just, you know, just a real calm individual. I kind of stayed to myself, you know. And I was more into girls, I guess, because I had nothing but friends that were girls and everything, and I'd always, you know, get in on, you know, some, try to hit on and whatnot, flirt with them all the time, and then since I wasn't wearing my gear, you know, I wasn't in the cowboy crowd, the cool crowd, which, you know, was Joe Hageman and all the, you know, the older kids.
Is that the cool crowd in Rockwell?
Well, no, not really, but just, I mean, there's the groups, but like, you know, the Cowboys, you know, they wouldn't be like, oh, Mike, you know, you aren't wearing your gear, so, you know, you're not a part, you know, stuff like that. And Joe would always be like, can't believe you're not wearing it and stuff like that. And I'm like, dude, just, you know, let me be, whatever. And that was kind of our sophomore year, and it was kind of crappy, you know. I was like, why did you, you know, even do that stuff? Because junior year we started hanging out again. But during the sophomore year.
But you're the one who fell out during the sophomore year.
And sophomore year, I remember, just talking about it now, I remember Brandon would still wear his gear, and he became, not like all the time he'd wear it, but he would hang out with him, you know, because he, you know, the older kids would go to parties and stuff like that, and Brandon wouldn't hesitate at all to do something stupid. And so he was, you know, the cool kid because they would be like, hey, Brandon, go do this, you know, just for simple entertainment. They'd be like, hey, Brandon, do this. And he'd be like, okay, go and do it, you know. And so anyway, so, he was kind of the center of attention for that group again. Then I remember because like they kind of said some bad, I heard some bad comments about me just because I wasn't wearing the gear from Joe and Brandon both.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just stupid, immature stuff, trying to be cool for the older kids. Growing up, and then junior year, we started hanging out more and stuff like that because the seniors, they had gone on, and all of our older siblings had gone on because Charlie was 2 years older than Brandon, my brother Matt 2 years, and Jared older than Joe. So the three of them would hang out, and then the three of us would hang out. You see, so it's kind of parallel. Well, all of our older siblings had gone off, and I kind of started wearing. I didn't wear the gear, hardly much at all, and so but they gotten out of the fact that Mike's not cool because he's not wearing his gear. You see,
Mm-hmm.
so that kind of we kind of just started hanging out again like we did freshman year, and then junior year, I'm not remembering anything much at all towards anything happening. So I guess from there I'm not remembering anything from junior. It was just a real blank year, not much going on. Senior year, we were really close all senior year, like all of us, and that's whenever Dustin Perry came in the picture. I'd gone to school with Dustin since elementary school,
Mm-hmm.
but he was always just real quiet type to himself, and he was into horses and stuff like that and the cowboy stuff, but he was just never, since he was so quiet to himself, he was always just solitary from everybody. He was just confined from everyone. And then senior year, it's just because he was into horses and stuff. It was all of a sudden he's there. I don't remember exactly how I got in the picture, but he's there. We were all really close, like brothers. Seriously, everywhere we'd go, you'd find the other, and that's just how it was. And we'd always have each other's, back or something like that, And we'd always go to IHOP, see, and we were always pretty good about being able to go to bed like at 1 or 2 or later, and get up for school without a problem. And so we'd all meet up like at go at IHOP or something, and like at midnight or something like that, and like friends would spend the night. It was just really cool, like brotherhood type thing. We just go to different friends' houses. Well, I mean, the bad thing is like during all this, like me and Joe's parents were cool with all this stuff and everything. But like Brandon's parents, they didn't really, they're, just like a typical parent. I guess my mom's not a good mom because she wasn't like, no, it's school night, But she knew that we were responsible, She knew that we knew how to get up in time for school. So she said, well, as long as you're not doing anything illegal and stupid, But Brandon would always have to, like, he would run out to his truck and be like, oh, hold on, my dad's calling. He'd run outside, and his parents would be out of town somewhere, and he had to run outside and get his truck where it's all quiet, and he'd talk to his parents, like, yeah, I'm at home, I'm fixing to go to bed and stuff. And I was always like, Brandon, you're stupid, He'd come back in, and we're always like, you're such an idiot, they're going to catch on to you sometime or other. Well, that was just the beginning of him and the big lies coming. You know what I'm saying? The big times that he.
That started your senior year, you're saying?
Senior year, yes. When we started going to IHOP and hanging out real late.
Mm-hmm.
That's whenever his parents wouldn't want him hanging out real late, so he would have to pull out stories from his rear end to get them off his back. And
was he pretty good at the stories?
Amazing. I mean, the thing I learned was even back like our freshman year, I was so stupid to fall into everything that he had ever given me. And still we're friends, because I don't keep grudges. I'm not like, oh, well, he told me this and I fell into it, It's just like, Brandon, why'd you do that? And he kind of laughed about it. But, like, he could get anybody to believe anything. And, like, it took me from freshman year on to about my senior year, even like a third of the way through my senior year, before I finally said, okay, Mike, you're being an idiot. You got to just stop it. Anything that comes out of him, and you just got to second guess it. And the more that he started pulling lies out, is just the more that I was like, standing back and see Joe and Perry, they kind of would fall for stuff, and they started catching on to him. And I told them, I said, Brandon, don't listen to him. Half the stuff that comes out is just a big lie. You have to just blow it off. Don't take it serious, stuff like that.
What kind of stuff?
Just like Perry, okay, Brandon and Morgan, okay, they were going out. Perry, country kid, hang out with Morgan, ride horses, whatnot. She's a cute girl. There for a while, I even could have told that he kind of had a thing. Perry had a little thing. Dustin, Perry had a little thing for Morgan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Brandon didn't like that. Don't blame him, But he took it really far. He would say how, oh, Dustin, this, they became enemies immediately. Once all this was going on.
Well, it's over a girl, but
yeah,
I mean that happens.
Yeah, and see, that's the funny thing is he would alternate enemies, but I was never his enemy. Me and Brandon were always friends. Here's Joe and Perry, and it'd be enemy, alternating back and forth throughout the whole senior year. And because Joe and Perry didn't want to put up with half the crap that Brandon could give them, you know. And I always just kind of knew this is how Brandon's going to be. Just you can't put 100% trust into him, but I'm not going to hold it against him. I'm still going to be friends with him, you know, whatnot. I'm not going to let it get me hard because I know that it's usually small crap that doesn't even involve me. And so it all started with Brandon and Perry about the whole, you know, Morgan deal. And eventually Perry was just wanting to be friends with her, you know. Well, Brandon didn't like that at all. And they had broken up on and off, Brandon and Morgan senior year, and every time they'd break up, Perry was there to kind of, and that would instigate Brandon, kind of trigger him, you know. And that's whenever Brandon started getting ugly, you know, like I've never seen the mean side of Brandon, but you could tell that it was always there. It's just all through school we've never had a reason because he was the outgoing kid that everybody would give their attention to, so he'd never have a reason to get, you know, mad at someone until this girlfriend issue came into the picture, and that was with Dustin. And that was the first time that I believe I've ever seen him just like downright, you know, mean, you know, like, you know, that effing, you know, just this stuff. And so that's kind of where, but it's funny, the funniest thing is that, like, it didn't surprise me, though, to see him like that. So it's kind of like growing up with him through the years. It's always been like that something on the inside that it's just going to come and go. And when it does, and whenever it did happen, it didn't surprise me, you see. And so I noticed that he and Perry would text back and forth, and Brandon would instigate it and be all like, go up to Morgan's parents, which they thought Dustin was a really nice kid and stuff like that. And they go up to Dustin's parents, like, see, look, you know, Perry's text messaging me this and that, and then you know, went back and forth with that stupid stuff. Somehow, I don't know how, it's almost like we're all girls here. They were friends. Then from there, it became Joe was the enemy. And then it was back and forth, I think, like 2 good big times, you know. And then finally, whenever Joe was the enemy in the seat, you know, it was around prom. And Brandon was just like, you know, the text messaging thing, showing it to you know, all the parents. Ooh, Joe's not a big, you know, Joe's not a little angel. Well, they didn't get to see Brandon's text messages either, you know. And half the crap that Brandon did, because it was just as equal, you know. And then, let's see, around prom, I can't remember if it had to have been after prom because otherwise they wouldn't have been allowed to, but they got in a fight. But anyways, but before, okay, coming up to prom.
They wouldn't have been allowed to.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember they got in a fight.
Wouldn't have been allowed to get in a fight, or wouldn't have been allowed to go to prom?
It's a fight. So I'm trying to remember whenever the fight broke out.
Okay.
Okay, so prom's coming up. You know, they're, you know, enemies, whatever, text messaging back and forth. I cannot remember what Brandon had against Joe. And that's the thing is, I've been having to put together thinking about it, is that he has to have an enemy, because all he ever says to his enemies is how much better Brandon is, how much better he is than the other person. Like Joe, he didn't have, you know, the parents that would buy him all this stuff, you know, stuff like that. So Brandon was always like, well, no, you're just poor, you're poor white trash and you're fat and blah blah blah, you know, stuff like that. And it was always, you know, something that Brandon had to be better than the other person. You know, you have to have an enemy, and that's why it seemed that he was either against Dustin, and the day that they become friends, it was against Joe, you see? It was back and forth, and it was funny because me and this kid Alan at school were just like, you know, it's so funny that you and I stay out of all this crap, because, you know, we've never been anybody's enemy. And so, but anyways, back to Joe. The tables are turning on Joe now, and they, like in class, we'd all have ag class together, me, Joe, and Brandon. They stopped sitting together, everything like that, and it just, you know, a bunch of just trash being said. And Brandon started, this was whenever Brandon had already started changing quite a bit, stopped wearing the cowboy gear, started wearing all these preppy clothes, you know, like Armani and this and that, and trying to look real good for the girls. And we'd always just kind of, you know, give him a little, like, Brandon, what are you wearing and stuff like that. I can't believe what you're wearing and stuff. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, all the girls like it. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, Tessa, you know, she says it's pretty hot and whatnot. And so we're kind of like, whatever, you know. So that kind of definitely started separating us whenever he started wanting to do everything. Well, behind the scenes, he was always having this new friend Doug off in Denton or something like that, and a few others. And he'd be hanging out with them, you know, all throughout, you know, January, March, whatever. But things got worse. And the more friends that he had outside of town is the worse that he became. And it started out like around March, I believe, whenever the big changes started happening. You know, the way he's dressing, his hairstyle, the way he's
March
acting.
of his senior year?
March of our senior year.
Right
March
before
of 2005.
graduation?
Yeah, March of 2005. And that's whenever things started getting really bad and stuff. I could tell because, like I said, enemies weren't really being made until around then. You know, like there were enemies and stuff, but nothing started getting like really mean and hateful until around then. And it's just, you know, like I said, Brandon's got to have his enemies, and that's how it is. But the way he felt about them, you know, this all didn't come up to our senior year. And then, you know, he had these friends. He started changing a lot. He started trying to look for extra money, you know, paying for all these nice clothes. Well, why are you going to do this? Well, making extra money. Brandon, being the outgoing little guy he is, has to be the, you know, has to do the extreme. You see what I'm saying? He's always got to live the extreme situations in life. And he's a stripper now. You know, he went out to L'Auberge with his sister and her friend and pierced his nipples in the parking lot. And then he went inside and he did stripping for an amateur night, Thursday night or something like that. And you know, he told us he made like $316 the first night that he did that, the amateur night. So it was a good idea and stuff. And he was just laughing about it. And so, because, you know,
he went with his sister?
Yeah, Charla, and I don't know the other girl's name. But, like, even leading up to it, he knew he was going to do it. Because, like, after IHOP some nights, he'd be like, hey, Mike, let's go to Walmart real quick. And I was like, why? He's like, because I got to pick up some clothes, you know, to go to L'Auberge with. And it was just, you know, a big joke. But to hear that he actually went through with it was like, whoa, you know. So we'd go to Walmart, and he started picking out, he tried to find, like, you know, thongs and G-strings and all that crap. And they don't sell such, you know, disgusting articles, but he found some weird string underwear. He bought them and bought these Under Armour, these really tight shirts and stuff, and all these totally, you know, hallucinate outfits and everything. It's just like you can only be smoking, you know. And he was, you know, this is so perfect and everything. And next thing you know, he's coming back to school on a Friday. Look at my nipples, I got them pierced last night. Yeah, my sister's friend did it in the parking lot of L'Auberge, and it's really good. I made $316 or some deal, and it was like, okay, whatever. And so that's whenever it started really getting really bad, was the stripping incident. Was started, you know, twisting a lot of things up.
Before you get too much further, you said Doug and Denton was a friend?
Yeah, I called my friend Dustin to get the name clarified. And
but you don't know what Doug's last name is?
Not at all.
You don't know anything about him?
No.
Ever met him?
Not at all. Dustin said that Dustin didn't get to actually meet him, but he was the friends that Brandon would always have away from the friends here in Rockwall that he wouldn't tell anybody about. He'd just tell us stories like, oh, we were out in Doug's BMW, or no, his Porsche. We flipped it. We hit the median and flipped, and we, you know, we landed back on our wheels somehow, and then, you know, the next thing you know, like the weekend after that, he's like, yeah, me and Doug went out in his new Porsche. He went and bought a new one or something like that. And we're like, Brandon. And he's like, no, seriously, you know, trying to pull these stories off, and half the kids would believe it. And it's just like, we're like, well, you know, we didn't know if Doug was, you know, some kind of drug dealer or what the deal was, because.
Could he have been an imaginary friend?
I don't think so, because he was just gone Brandon was gone too often. But then again, this stories that we all fall into, you know. He was gone far too often, you know, since of March. He was just gone a lot all the time.
Excuse me, I'm going to have to step up. Rangers as felons.
Do I keep going?
Sure.
All right, but you know, he was just gone far too often from all of us in Rockwall, and it was just real questionable of who he's with. He'd never tell us. And then our friend Dustin was hanging out with. That was whenever they were buddy at the time. And Dustin, you know, since he's real quiet, I guess Brandon could figure that he could kind of tell Dustin a few things. So he'd kind of talk about, you know, he's with his friend Doug, but he wouldn't give too much information. And I talked to Dustin, and I was like, because Dustin would think that he was a drug dealer, I remember. And I was always like, yeah, go hang out with
What made him think that?
I called Dustin earlier today, and I said, Dustin, I remember you telling us about that, and Brandon even telling us about that, but what? He goes, no, he wasn't some drug dealer. He's like, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I was like, because Dustin got like the worst memory. He totally forgot about the whole cat incident until I brought it up, and he was like, oh, I forgot about that, you know? And I was like, I asked him, he's like, oh, yeah, I remember the kid's name was Doug. And from Denton and stuff. And I was like, well, don't you remember anything about him? Like, call him a druggie or anything? No, I don't remember any of that. And I was
How old was this Doug?
20-something. I think he was like 23 maybe. Okay. I don't know. I remember he was an older kid that you just, you know, one of them kids that you don't want to mess with. But Brandon was out there with them, and just more friends and more friends started getting created outside of town. And that's whenever things started getting worse. And, you know, the friendships weren't being well kept.
Right.
Eventually it was, he didn't like Dustin or Brandon or Joe at all. And he'd never had a problem with me all through school and even after school. But anyway, so back at, long story short, whatever. Back at the prom issue was, oh well, Joe, I don't want him coming over to Morgan's house to take pictures or to go with us at the group, Well, me and Perry were like, this is pathetic, so we just signed us all up to sit at the same table, and Brandon just hated that at all. He was furious about that, and so we ended up, we had the assigned seats, whatever, but going over, Brandon was like, if he walks up to Morgan's house, I'm leaving and whatnot. Well, sure enough, Miss Lee, invited Joe in, whatever, and Brandon was just totally raged about that, and he didn't really, do much or anything like that from what I could get out of it. And then that was about it for prom. Joe tried to be friends with him through it because we were like, Joe, just drop it, just try to make friends. So I remember taking pictures. Joe would kind of talk to him, and Brandon would just be like, yeah, whatever.
What are the about?
I don't know. That's what. Only thing I can get is that Brandon thought Joe was white trash because he wasn't as rich as Joe. He wasn't as rich as Brandon. Okay, and Perry was just because he thought Perry had a thing for Morgan. Okay, well, Perry was white trash because, he lives in a little double wide trailer that's ran down and stuff like that. So, I don't know. And I'll be honest with you, I do not understand. That's what we're like, this is stupid, it's pathetic, And all through high school, all through our senior year, I could not understand how such close friends became his enemies,
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that just, escapes me. Even to this day, I don't understand. And the only thing I can figure is that he has to have enemies. And the only people that he could put himself above was the two of them because he knew them the most,
mm-hmm.
and he knew things of their life that he has better than them.
Right.
That he could make it, that he could say, well, I'm better than you because of this. And that's
materialistic things.
Yeah. And he'd always brag about his clothes whenever after prom, still enemies with Joe and somewhat Perry and stuff like that. And, my shirt's better than yours. It's a $92 Armani shirt and stuff. And he'd always wear these totally, outfits that not even you'd see models wearing, but just, multiple outfits that you'd see on different models and stuff. He'd put all together and make this one totally outrageous outfit. And we're like, everybody would always look at him. And people come up to us because they knew that we were his friends and stuff. And they'd be like, what's wrong with him? Like, I don't know. He's totally changing.
How's he affording these clothes?
Stripping. He ended up on the payroll at LeBare's. And that's a proven because he told Dustin thinking that he'd keep his mouth shut.
Mm-hmm.
Dustin never comes out of his shell. He likes to keep anything he knows to himself. Just because that's just how he says. He just keeps his nose in his own business.
So through his senior year, he was.
As of about March or April.
Last of his senior year, he was. That's a couple of months.
He started as amateur Thursday nights. He'd go out there for a few Thursday nights, and then he laid off, I believe, for a couple or 3 weeks. We thought it was just something that passed over. He wanted some quick cash, thought it was fun, and gave him his little rush that he needs to be the center of attention. Next thing you know, he's getting tons of money coming in. He's totally changing, piercing his ears, getting his nipples, done exactly because they've gotten messed up and had to redo them. Mm-hmm. Getting them done exactly perfect, and just totally outrageous. Never wore his cowboy gear again because he used to wear this every once in a while. Never wore it again. Totally changing of how he thinks of everybody. Never hung out with us at town anymore. Never at IHOP anymore. Well, he would show up at IHOP, but he'd be like, yeah, I'm out here in Denton. I'll be there in a little bit. He'd come and hang out with us for a little bit in IHOP. But
where would he be in Denton?
That's with Doug and all his friends.
Okay.
And he'd come in town. We'd question him about it. And he'd just be like, he'd sit at the booth, and he was always too good. He'd look around. He'd never talk with us. He'd just show his presence. He'd never talk with us at one, but he would do stuff around to other people trying to get attention. I guess one time he threw this cup of creamer across the restaurant and hit this girl. It was funny, but it was just like, I can't believe you did that. It's something that you can only see, like, if you had a surveillance camera. It was just hilarious. It was so random. Threw it, and, like, the girl just, like, stared at it as it came to her, and it just hit her square in the face. And the manager was just, totally pissed off about this. But, we knew the managers and stuff, and Brandon was like, oh, I'll pay for her meal, whatnot, And he just did stuff like that.
Did he know her?
No. It's a thing. He just straight up threw it, and he started laughing out loud. He'd get the ketchup at IHOP and, like, clear everything off the table and write Brandon with ketchup on the tables. And we're like, Brandon, what's the deal? One time I think it was Joe's phone, or maybe it was his personal phone. He grabbed it and just straight up and threw it in the ice water, It's just like, and he just laughed about it. Yeah, he just laughed about it. And his cell phone was ruined. He just laughed about it, like, oh well, he's cool. He can afford it. No need to worry about it. It's just Brandon, and it's like, what's the, things were too kooky, I mean, I can understand him back in freshman, you know, having to have the attention, you know. But things as extreme as this is just like weird. And I could have sworn he was on crack or something because he would always, you know, just his reaction, like he would just, you know, he could sit still, you know, and he's just, you know, always looking around and everything like that, and always trying to just real kind of, you know, just like, you know, me and Joe and Perry, yeah, would talk and we'd be like, dude, he's got to have been doing crack with this Doug kid or something, you know, because since he's been hanging out with other kids, he's changed a lot, and it's just, this is just different. This is nothing of original, you know. This is something that's really gone wrong with this kid. And I'd always kind of told him, I said, well, knowing him since I was little, I said, it doesn't surprise me because he's always had to do this kind of stuff. And now that he's older and he has access to it, why wouldn't he do it, you know? Mm-hmm. And so I said, it doesn't surprise me at all. He's always had to be the most extremer in the world, you know. In every group, he'd have to go from group to group being the extreme. And you know, he'd like go to this one club, Ice House in Rockwall, whenever it was still existing there. He'd get up on top of this girl's car and have the stereo blasting it. He'd have his cheerleading outfit on, and he'd go up there and he'd dance and stuff like that on top of the car. The whole crowd would come from the inside of the club to the outside, and a few kids would come out and they'd start throwing dodgeballs. Well, me and Joe, that's when we're all friends and stuff. Me and Joe were like, or this I should say, this was one of them, you know, roller coaster parts where Joe and Brandon were friends. So, you know, they started throwing dodgeballs. Joe got mad, and Joe's just real, I don't know, Joe's just like that. You know, he's real, you know, stern, little short guy, you know, just so Joe, you know, was like, threw one of the balls or something back at one kid. Somehow he nearly ended up in a fight with this, you know, really big guy. And I was about to step in on it, and it just got ugly, you know. And so, like I said, you know, it's just stupid stuff. He's got to always have attention.
What about the deal about the cats?
Yeah, I was about to tell you, yeah, he's, this is actually towards, is it before or after prom? I took 3 of them home with me. We were talking out in the parking lot. He was like, yeah. Joe said that he was there when it happened, and it was at his stables is what it was. And I talked to Joe, and he said he'll come and tell you all about it. At the stables, Joe didn't see it himself, but Brandon said, I have to get rid of this cat, you know. Well, he goes up there, grabs a shovel, done over the head, and next thing you know, Joe didn't see him do it, but Joe saw him outside carrying the cat with a shovel and pitched it somewhere or whatever. Joe has more detail. But then coming to school, he told us he had all the kittens in this big carrier in the back of his truck, no food, no water, and it was a hot sunny day, you know, summer coming in, left him in the back of his truck, and I was like, you're not going to do something for him? He's like, no, they'll be fine. And just not carrying it, and we're like, well, how did you get him? He goes, oh, here's the story. He told us, he goes, you won't believe this. He goes, it was so funny. He was like, he goes, yeah, I was out to, the stable, whatever, and somebody told me to get rid of him. So he was like, yeah, and he goes, I went ahead and I got the shovel, hit the mom cat over the head, and he goes, and the cat, he's trying to explain how the cat was all, and he was like laughing about it, and I'm just kind of sitting there like, that's not cool at all, And so I knew, and he said, I was like, well, what are you going to do with the kittens? He goes, oh, well, he started, I can't remember if he was telling us that another incident where he did it, but he's telling us that he's going to throw them out on a bridge. And we figured, just like a 66 bridge on the highway, they get ran over or something like that. Well, I said, well, don't do that. I said, I'll take whatever I can home with me. So I took 3 of them home with me, and I ended up giving them to the adoption, whatever agency. It sounded like a kid or something. But anyways, giving it to somebody to adopt them, it's some kind of pet adoption. And I took 3 home with me that he said, they're in the back of my truck. Just pick them up on your way out because I got out of school earlier than him that day. I took 3 home with me, put them in my Jeep. Me and Joe both went out there to get them actually, and we took them to the vet across the, down the road from the school. And we told them, that, we need to get these kittens checked on, whatever, if there's anything. They gave us some flea pill, whatever. Took them home. They were fine. Raised them for a little bit before we gave them to the adoption people. And then he had them that day. And I can't remember if it was the next day, but within a couple of days, we're kind of like, whatever happened to them kittens? And he was telling us he was going to throw them out on a bridge. And like I said, I can't remember if it was the day after or the next day, or 2 days after. But he comes up and the story is out that there's 2 different stories that he pulled off. And one's for the Lees and all the people he has to look good for, Todd Williams, the Lees, and stuff like that. But the story has it for what he did with them was, what he's telling, his guys that he was laughing about was, oh, you won't believe it, I threw him out on an overpass of 30. Like, I don't know if it was the 549 or the 551 Fate overpass. Say I threw him over the overpass of 30. And he was just laughing about it, and we're like, that's not even funny. He was like, well, I had to get rid of him and stuff like that. And he goes, isn't that just funny? He goes, oh, but don't tell Morgan and Miss Lee or anybody. or Miss Knight, or, any adult that he had acquaintance with, or any person that thought he was some good kid, he goes, well, don't tell them. He goes, well, we're like, well, what does she think? Because the cats don't just disappear. He goes, oh, she thinks that the door was open or something like that, or something. He said somehow they came out of the back of his truck, that the tailgate was down and they got loose and they fell out on the highway, was the story that he told Morgan. And then he was like, yeah, that's what she knows, so don't let her know that we threw him over the overpass. Oh, no, see, don't let her know that I threw him over the overpass. Me and Joe, I'm sorry, I'm ADD type. He said, don't tell her that I threw him over the overpass. Well, me and Joe, we go and we tell Morgan what had happened, and she's always been in denial about this kid. Whenever he started doing stuff after, we'll get there, but any time that something bad comes up about Brandon, the Lee family, well, except for Mr. Lee, he's been real, I don't like that kid, but Miss Lee and Morgan are always, oh no, sweet little Brandon couldn't have done that, So we tell her, Morgan, them cats, they're like, he told us the day before he did it, that he said that he was going to get rid of them. Remember the day I took them cats home? And she's like, yeah. I said, well, he ended up throwing them over the overpass like he told us he was going to do. And she was like, no, she goes, no, he didn't do that. They fell out or something like that. And we're like, and so she's always been in denial about anything about Brandon being, against him. And so, anyways, the cat incident, that's what it was. And then, after that, everything's just going on. And another incident, we'd always go to IHOP. Well, this is kind of whenever Joe and Brandon, I think, were enemies at the time. And he called me up there, and he goes, dude, something's about to happen, because there's those kids at that club that threw dodgeballs at them. Well, those kids would go to IHOP too. And we'd all meet up there at a certain time, like at 12:30 or 1, we'd all meet up there. And he'd usually be the first to go, because he was always out in the prowl doing something, and he'd always, be run right by IHOP, and he was there. Whereas I'd have to leave my house to go up there, And so he called me up, and I drive up around, because he said, them kids are here. I don't want to go in until, they either leave or y'all get here, Just like back at freshman year, they're fixing to fight, and you might get over here, He goes, well, something's about to happen, so get up here. I pull around back, and the main kid that he's always had, confrontation with, the main kid, was like I just pull around, and seriously, I have my headlights on his car. As soon as I was about to park, I see the kid swing in and just, swing at Brandon. Brandon said he missed, and there wasn't a mark, which is the fact that he swung. And, as a distance, I just saw, because his cab light, I saw the kid swing in and Brandon go like this. So I put my car in park. I run up there, and I grabbed the kid, and I pulled him back, and I was like, what's going on, and stuff like that. And then Brandon, was like on his cell phone. He goes, my uncle's a lawyer. You just effed up. You just effed up. You really effed up, blah, blah, blah. And, the kid was kind of backing away, and I was like, what's, this? And he goes, well, he called my mom a Bia, and stuff like that. And I was just like, okay. I was like, so what? I said, so what if I call her that? You going to come after me? And he was just like, well, no, because he goes, well, he's been saying it for a long time, blah, blah, blah. He's got what he's got coming to him, blah, blah. Next thing you know, I turn around. I see Brandon coming with his little steroids that he would give to him. He would get for his pig, but he'd give it to himself. And he comes out and he pulls the little cartridge off the needle.
Did you ever physically see him give it to himself?
No, but there's a scar on his arm where he did give it to himself.
How do you know that that's how he got
Dustin
the scar?
Perry works at a vet clinic. He knows a lot of it, because you can give that stuff out for horses or pigs or something.
Mm-hmm.
And that's his excuse to getting them was for his pig. Well, Dustin told him, he said, to put it in the biggest, in a big muscle in your body that can absorb it,
Mm-hmm.
and break the steroid down, which being your butt cheek. Well, Brandon's stupid. I mean, this kid's an idiot. Puts it in his arm. Tells us at school, oh, it's a spider bite. Well, why does a spider bite start eating your skin really big, and this weird, ugly, stuff start growing out of it? Well, Dustin
told
us.
That's what a brown recluse or something does, doesn't it?
No, Dustin said that Brandon was worried. Brandon called Dustin and said that he had given the shot to himself in the arm, which the muscle's way too small. He said that the muscle started eating away at the skin where the hole was, where the steroid went in. It started eating away at it, and the muscle was growing out, is what it was. Like the muscle, some weird, ugly thing. But that's what that big old scar on his arm is. It wasn't no brown recluse, And so that was the steroid incident.
Go if you need to take that, that's fine. Just remember you're on tape, so
yeah.
You don't.
Maybe I'll call you back. Okay. No. Anyway, I should probably wonder where I've been. Anyways, so that was a steroid incident, and then.
But you're positive.
That was a steroid because he had them. And he had them. I'm at the detectives. I'll call you back. I'm at the detectives. I'll call you back. That was Joe Hagman right there. Anyways, okay, because he had a number of them, and whenever he pulled it out, I said, "What is that?" And he goes, "It's the steroid shot that that he's been getting and stuff like that." And another reason of saying that it was a steroid, at that time he's also doing a lot of working out. That's whenever he started stripping. He has to look real big on the stage. He started working out. He was always a skinny little kid. But if you look at him now, he's got the little chest. He's a small frame, but he's got the muscle tone and stuff like that. He was always working out, took in his steroids, and within a matter of not even 2 weeks, this kid had got chest, little arms and stuff like that, and real tone, and bigger than he could have ever thought he could have been. And Dustin had said, well, he'd been taking them steroids, that he's supposed to be getting for his pig. He'd been taking them for himself because it's supposedly, I don't know if it's, I'm pretty sure it's legal to give it to your pig, is what I understand. Mm-hmm. But within so many weeks of the market sale, before you can slaughter the animal, you have to stop giving it to him to get it out of their system. Mm-hmm. So that's why I said it's legal for him to get it for his pig, but not for himself. So he would use it for himself. And so that's where, that came from. And but he pulled it out at IHOP, and he come running out. I remember because I was facing him, going back to the truck after the kid started walking away, and eventually finally gotten off the phone, pulling it out and stuff like that, starts walking and everything. I'm like, Brandon, you're stupid. I was like, you're gonna get in so much trouble if you even touch him with that thing. I said, just put it away. So I don't know, can't remember exactly how he got from that to this, but he had come back to the truck, and he didn't do anything with the needle. Come back to the truck, pulls up his seat, and grabs the bat and starts going after the kid with the bat. Just a metal little Easton, I guess, titanium little bat. This little metal bat that he keeps in the back of his truck. And he always just kept it there and stuff. And then he had, started going after it. I was like, Brandon, just do with your fish. If you're going to fight him, don't sit there and start using this crap. You're going to tear something up. Anyways, that was the IHOP incident. Nothing happened out of that. The kids went their own way. We went our own way. And that was about it. The kids went away because they were going to get more kids to come out and fight us. Mm-hmm. But we all just, went our own ways. Nothing happened with that. And then another IHOP incident, he had called me. He and Dustin were waiting out in the car. Dustin's his friend now, so he had called me and said, Mike, there's a lot of people from Ice House up there in IHOP. He goes, and they're like, I went in there and they were running their mouths or something.
Now, what is Ice House?
It's the club where these, like a gothic type club, music club, where the music like yelling and jump. Okay. It's one of those. And
they all something he frequently went to.
He would go to get their attention. You see what I'm saying? He would go there because he knew when he gets on top of the car and dance, everyone comes out and gives him his attention.
Could y'all get in there?
Yeah.
Could you get in the club?
Yeah, it was absolutely. Anybody can get in there. It's not like an age limit. There's 13 young kids in there. Okay. And one of the young kids up on stage is singing, and but he called me and said they're up here and they're already starting to try to talk and trash, and they're threatening me this and that, and they're all going to come out here and jump me or some deal. So I get up there thinking that something's really going to go down. I walk up and they see me pull up, so they get out. They get out because they didn't want to go in with us. I was there, so we go and we walk in, and I kind of walk back because I'm like, I know Brandon's gonna make a fool of himself and go in there, run his mouth. Sure enough, runs in there like he's got every right in the world to do it. Runs in there just and he starts he goes, well, I don't know. And he starts running his mouth and everything. People all in the smoking section, they're 20, like these older college students, it seems, about 23 or whatever, 21, or a little bit around that age. They're in there and they've been drinking in some bar or whatever, so they're not really wanting to put up with them. And one of them gets up, starts yelling at him. He goes, man, I'm about to whoop your effing, if you don't get out of here now. And then the big guy chases Brandon out of the IHOP, out of the restaurant. So Brandon and Dustin run out to their car, and I just stay in there. Because I didn't stay with them, I went and I talked to the manager at the table. I was like, this kid's such an idiot. And they're like, yeah, if he's going to be doing this, tell him just to stay away. So, anyways, they left, and I was just kind of stayed in there a little while, and they're calling me like, why come out? Why aren't you coming out? Blah, blah, blah. I was just, it was just totally stupid. And,
well, tell me something before you go any further. Are you like the tough guy of the group? Because it's like
I'm not going to take action, but if something does happen, I'm going to defend my friend, Mm-hmm. And so,
I mean, you're 165 pounds, and you've been out of high school now for what, 6 months?
Yeah.
Were you 165 pounds in high school?
I was 160 in high school. I only gained 5 pounds now.
Okay.
So I'm not.
But I mean, when I was in high school, I was like 215, 220.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, that wasn't like, it's not like, people would just look at me like, because I've never gotten in fights or anything like that.
Okay, so
It's
you're
just,
not a fighter. And
exactly.
you're not, but for
But
some
if something
reason
happens,
you keep on saying, man,
if
they're
something
calling me to
happens,
come over here.
if something happens, then they know that I've grown up with a brother that beats the junk out of me and whatnot. And,
so you can take the beating,
I can take a beating like no other and resist, but while at it, I can throw a few hits at them and hopefully they won't endure it as well as I can, and that's kind of how it would happen. And so they call me up, whatever. I mean, what's Brandon going to do,
Is it mainly Brandon that's calling you?
Yeah, he was the only one. Because Perry and Joe would never get in fights with them. It was always just Brandon,
So, I mean, if they went somewhere as a group, Brandon was the one that always had the problem with.
Brandon would have a problem because he'd just run his mouth, He'd, like I said, he'd yell across the IHOP trying to get attention from everybody, He'd go up, and one time he wore this poncho with nothing but boxers underneath it, where he said that he didn't have anything underneath it, but I bet you probably had boxers. Nothing but just this Mexican poncho and a cowboy hat and boots. Came walking in, and it was New Year's Eve. Everybody was drunk as ever, and everybody, like a bunch of drunk people in there, and not like us, but drunk people in there, like, man, this and that, and just out loud. He was loving it, drunk people coming up to him and saying, what the F are you wearing, man, and he was just loving it, soaking it up.
Did he just do anything for attention is what you're saying?
And he'd just wear random outfits then. It was funny because one time I was out riding my bike, and he was like, come up here, dude, and I was like, okay. And so, he said that he's going to wear some outfits. So I was like, all right, well, this is whenever it was just, in the beginning where it was kind of funny, So I wore, like, my bike helmet and, like, my bike gear that I was riding my bike in, And that was one time that I wore a little outfit there with him. But, I mean, he would go all out with this thing, And he wore his cheerleading outfit up there and stuff like that. And people would always, he'd walk around the restaurant just talking to random people. And this one girl that was in there frequently, her little group of friends, he went up to and he'd be like, hugging on her, kissing on her and stuff. And you just do random stupid things that you only hear of.
For attention.
Yeah, and the extreme stuff that's, most of the time is stuff that you only hear about, And anyway, so, the thing of it was is, here's where his parents come into hand about towards, like, I guess hatred and stuff like that. He'd always be lying to him, stuff like that. Well, when he started hanging out with Doug, and we were all like, dude, he's doing crack or something. I mean, something's just messed up. Something ain't right with him. Well, he'd been stripping all this time. Something ain't right with him. And he didn't know that we knew about the actual payroll on stripping. And we're like, man, he's stupid. He's going to get caught or something.
Payroll.
Like, he's a was it Thursday and Sunday night dancer.
But this time he's on the payroll over at the Bears.
Yeah, this is time had progressed, and he's now on the payroll of the Bears.
When was this? I mean, less than a year ago?
Oh, yeah, this is the end of senior year.
End of senior year?
Yeah, and we're just like, this is just, getting too bizarre. We're so surprised he hasn't got caught with anything. Well, it turns out his parents were catching on to him. And the one thing that that's the one reason why he hates me or has some big thing against me is because I'm two-faced. Well, because I always caught on to him. And the people that he would do things to, like lie to, just anything, I would, when after he'd left, after he's like, don't tell him, I'm like, oh yeah, And I'd go up to him, I'd be like, just look out for Brandon, this is what's going on. Well, that's why I'm two-faced, is because I guess you have to be two-faced with them, I'll be honest, I am two-faced to Brandon Woodruff, I am. I have to be.
So in other words, what you're saying is,
if you find
when he tells you something, you're going to let him believe that you.
Because I know what he really.
At the same time, you're going to know that it's a bunch of crap.
Yeah, exactly. And he never caught on that I was the one that would go behind scenes and be like, Morgan, watch out for this, or Dustin, watch out for that. And so he'd always, that we'd always been friends through all this, And anyways, but see with his parents, this is going to come later on where he turns against me. That's in the summertime. But during school, he's doing all this stupid stuff, and we're like, you're going to get caught. And sure enough, his parents are catching on to him. He was, like, he'd always be, like, in the car or something. He'd be like, my parents, blah, blah, they're asking me all this when we come home. And he goes, I hate my effing parents, blah, blah, blah. He goes, they're always doing this crap to me, and just need to go to hell and stuff. And after that, that's just whenever things started getting ugly. And then
when you said that his parents was getting on to him and stuff, and they were doing this crap to him, does that mean they're trying to put a timeline on him or let them know where he's at? Or,
yeah, they're catching on to him. They're saying, I want you home at a certain hour. Okay. He's trying to put out more lies. They don't give me my space. I hate them. They're effing this and that. Wish they, go to hell. And that's just, and I was just like, kind of whatever. That's Brandon. He's a teenage kid getting caught with stupid stuff. What else is every kid going to do? I mean, I've heard my stepbrother say it about, or my, I guess soon, my mom's fiance's sons, they're into drugs and all that stuff, and they'll do that. They'll be like, my dad, he needs to go to hell, he just, does this and that, and I'm like, typical. Well, time goes on, and, he's always, has something, after he's been doing all this stupid stuff, he starts.
Did he ever ask you to cover for him while he was out with
He would never ask me, but he would never ask me to actually talk to him. But he would say that I'm spending the night at Mike's house. Just, he goes, if anything happens, just, kind of stick to that. Or he'd tell Joe, he'd be like, hey, if my dad calls, you could see Joe and Dennis were really close. Well, I wouldn't say like close, like talking father-son type deal, But every time they'd go over, Joe would always, talk and joke around with Dennis. And he'd be like, he goes, if my dad or my mom calls, just talk to him, keep him occupied, let him think that I'm like, in the bathroom, or just let him think that I'm spending the night or something like that. And that's what he'd do, He'd be like, I'm staying over at Joe's house, staying over at Perry's house or Mike's house, and we'd never hear of him. We'd be at IHOP, and he'd be like, yeah, I'm going to be telling him this and that. And this is already like at 12:30 or 1. Next thing you know, we all split our ways. He heads, instead of going down 30 to where he's supposed to be going, he heads down 30 towards into downtown Dallas. And it's just like, and we're just like, where is he going, And I mean, so he'd always, he wouldn't really ask me to talk to his parents and cover for him. But for Joe, I remember quite a few times he'd asked him to cover for him. And but like that's what I said. His parents, they started not getting along very well whenever they started figuring him out.
Your parents, you mean his parents stopped getting along with him, or he stopped getting along? The two parents were still getting along with one another.
Yeah,
it sounded like you said his parents weren't getting along.
No. He and his parents, their relationship was going sour.
All right.
They, this and that.
They were catching on to what he was up to.
Exactly.
But this has been since this is the last part of his senior year.
Yeah,
right?
Everything takes place. Everything that I'm telling you, like the major stuff on him, is what takes place around March till present. And anyway, so where was I? Good Lord, this story is so long, and I'm ADD as can be. Okay, so we'd gone through the parent deal, started getting with the parents. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I guess then the fight comes around, I guess, in the timeline, I guess you could say, is a fight between him and Joe. Joe's the enemy. Was it in June? They have tickets on it, so there's a documented date on it. It was down near the end of the school year. And it was, Joe's some, little redneck white trash fatty that nobody, Jenny Craig can't help, blah, blah. And so Joe, was like, well, just kind of keeping to himself. But Brandon run his mouth behind Joe's back. And finally one day, he'd been going back and forth, and me and Perry were kind of sitting there, and they're about to get in this fight. And like I was standing in the middle, okay, like say here's the lockers, that we'd always hang out with. Every day it was me, Joe, Brandon, Perry, and we'd always kind of lean upon the lockers, Well, I was standing here at the corner, and Perry was over here, and Brandon and Joe, and so like they were, back and forth, yelling, and then Brandon kind of steps over here closer to me, kind of leans forward, and like I'm, leans like right here in front of me, and she starts doing it, so I just back up, and then Joe, comes in his distance, and then Brandon goes all the way up into Joe's face, and this and that. Joe, his little self, I don't know how, kind of like confidence, confidence and cockiness mixed together, like you don't do that, you respect my space, shoves him. And Joe's a little short, stout guy, he's been growing since then, but at the time, he's a little shorter, stouter guy, and he's got a lot more leverage on Brandon, you know what I'm saying? He's got a lot more advantage, and just shoves Brandon out of his face. Brandon gets right back up in there. And as Joe goes to shove him, Brandon like swings and totally misses Joe. And after you swing at a Hageman, it's on. His older brother Jarrett was the same way. Once you swing at a Hageman, it's on. And so Joe just goes in there and just starts, they're just fighting and scuffling all over the ground. And me and Perry are like, dude, this is getting pretty serious. We're like, just like, this is not good. And the next thing you know, like they're on the ground, like this is just a matter of like not even like like time goes slow when something's going on, mm-hmm. But it wasn't very long at all, and we were like, dude, they're actually fist fighting and stuff. So we were like, all right, well, we gotta do something. And next thing, like teacher, a teacher runs over this way. I'm grabbing onto Joe and I'm pulling him back and stuff. And Brandon's shirt is just torn to, this little $92 Armani shirt, torn to shreds. And he was just like, he gets pissed. Brandon goes and we're kind of, I grab Joe and we're kind of walking down the hall. towards one of the assistant principal's offices. And Joe just real calm about it, you know, and I was like, Joe, just chill out, you know, this and that. It's like, you know, it's going to be okay, just chill out, you know. I said, it's on, I'm sure it's on camera, I said, don't worry about it. And the next thing you know, like, I kind of pull, you know, Joe kind of walks over, walks over towards Miss Knight, which is one of the assistant principal's assistants, I don't know, secretary or something like that. Walks over towards her, he walks by me. I said, Joe, you just go talk to Miss Knight. I said, everything will be cleared up. Brandon comes walking by, you know, he's all mad, storming out, his shirt ripped up and stuff like that. He goes, Joe, he's so effed. He goes, I'm going to go bash his effing windshield in with my bat, the bat that he keeps in his truck. And I was like, uh-oh, there's no doubt in my mind, when Brandon gets pissed off, he's going to do what he's going to do, you know. And so I went to Miss Knight, I said, Miss Knight, you better contact Mr. Fields, because Brandon just told me he's going to go bash Joe's windshield in. And I said, he's got that bat in the back of his truck, and I promise you, I said, I had no doubt in my mind he's going to do it. And so she contacts him, Mr. Fields, somehow encounters with him, tells him to get his shirt and go back into another shirt, goes back into school and stuff, and that was the fight incident, you know. And then everything after that, everything lawful happens, you know, his statements, blah blah, you know, all that stuff.
But it sounds to me like Brandon he didn't initiate the physical contact.
Yeah, as I said,
he just got up in his face and started it.
Now, whenever
and then Joe pushed him.
Joe, like Brandon was right here in Joe.
And then Joe went to push him a second time.
And then Brandon just comes like storming back up into Joe's face, and Joe's like, get out of my face, and just shoves him, you know. And as Joe went to shove him, Brandon just goes like, boom, and just swings and just, you know, misses Joe. And then that's when it just all cut loose, you know.
Okay.
So then after that, it was just like Brandon swung. And once they swung, it was like they both, and once because he pushed him, Brandon was on his way back with momentum as he swung, and then as soon as he got his ground, they just together went right together, you know, like little magnets, you know, scuffling and hitting and on the ground and stuff. And that was about it until, you know, Joe.
Who got the better of who?
Joe definitely got the better of Joe. I mean, Joe got the better of Brandon. Brandon is just, Brandon, I think maybe have hitting Joe in the head or something like that, like back in the back. But I mean, Joe, it was obvious he had, you know, 2 or 3 really good hits on Brandon. And
so Brandon's not really a fighter.
No, he's not much. He's not like, you know, like a box, you know, I'm training and stuff like that. But whenever he started getting those little, you know, steroids and stuff like that, he would do. I remember he was doing the workout stuff like that, and he would just, you know, kind of act, you know, like he's doing something cool, you know, something stupid. It's just like, Brandon, give it up, you know. And that's basically it, you know. And so that was the fight. And then the school year was coming up real soon, you know. They were enemies, and somehow it came down to the award ceremony is what it was, at the school scholarships, and he had to sit next to me. And at this time, I was just kind of like, you know, he was, you know, Mike, you know, blah, 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 trying to get me caught in the middle of the fight. And this is whenever I kind of noticed he started trying to pull away with me as a friend, but we weren't like enemies. It was just like, well, you know, Mike's not taking my side, you know, I'm upset. It's not like, you know, okay, Mike, you're my enemy now because you're taking my side. Like, I knew that he knew that I was more on Joe's side of it all, but still, it didn't trigger him to dislike me, you know, like horribly dislike me. And anyways, at the deal, you know, Perry was telling me, we're just like, dude, he's changed so much. And that's whenever he tells me, he's like, did you not know that he's been stripping at, you know, stuff, you know, because earlier that day he told me that it's for sure that he's been on payroll stripping. And we just kind of cracked jokes, you know, kind of like, I wonder, you know, what he's going to wear to the deal, you know, and like the idea of him being a homosexual is starting to come out on the table.
And why did that come out on the table?
All these hidden friends and stuff like that, and all through, I mean, ever since the kid began, I mean, he'd walk up, you know, this is his little cell phone, and he'd have his cup, and he'd walk up every morning. I mean, all through senior year, it's just we kind of overlooked it and never really cared much for it. But like whenever he started really changing and things were going, you know, sour and just going south with him, he'd walk up and he'd be like on his cell phone. He'd have his cell phone, his cup, and he'd walk like this up to school, and he'd always, you know, and it was just everything. The way that he talked, everything, it's like, you know, it doesn't surprise me that he's, you know, trying to try new things.
So you're saying that it was the mannerisms then?
Yes, that's what it was at the time.
But it's only the mannerisms.
Mannerisms at the time, and so we're just teasing around like, you know, well, you know, he's, you know, after the fight and everything, it's just. You know, he's just that, you know, we're just kind of, you know, pestering. We didn't, like, come up to him and talk to him about it, but just, you know, between me, Joe, and Perry, we'd kind of be like, dude, something was just really screwed up. Is he gay or something like that? And and people, we just kind of talk about, like, well, we don't, have any doubt that he's going to be gay once high school is over, because why would he have anything to hide? So.
Do you have a problem with him if he's gay?
No, that's what I said. I've talked, kids that are gay, I've never had any problem with them. Now, the rule goes for me, if you're gay, you stay to yourself, we talk, that's fine, A kid all through my junior year sat behind me in physics class. We chit-chat just fine, but whenever he started, giving me food and candy every day, and I started hearing from his friends that were, his little girlfriends, whatever, that he had a little thing for me, it's kind of, so I straight up told him, I was just like, dude, just keep your distance on me, I was just like, and I made it real clear about my girlfriend and stuff. I'd show him pictures of my girlfriend and tell him about, like, a date we had, the previous evening. And, it's nothing like, you're a faggot, I hate you, this and that. And,
well, but Brandon's got a girlfriend.
Brandon has a girlfriend. Now, I've been doing research and on, now not because of the Brandon issue, but because in one of my, classes, I have to do a speech on gay marriage, like, opposing it, to debate speech. And, I found out my partner is actually, she's a lesbian. And because I told her, well, I'm totally against gay marriage. It's just wrong, I said, it's totally wrong. It's a big sin and stuff. I said, and she goes, well, I'm totally for it. And I'm like, she said, well, I'm gay, I said, no offense, I don't have anything problem with you being gay. It's just, if you're going to go around, flaunting it in front of me or something like that, it just makes me uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I won't do anything. I said, so don't take anything that I say offensive. It's a debate speech. There's going to be harsh words said probably. So just leave it at that. I said, I don't have a problem with gay people. I said, a friend of mine, once he graduated, he came out of his shell and stuff like that. And I said, just stuff like that. I said, there's a gay kid in my physics class all junior year. I talk to him every time I see him up at Walmart because he works at Walmart, this Russell Gibson kid. I'll talk to him and stuff like that and just be like, hey, what's up, dude, And anyway, so I have a problem with gay people. And actually we had found out after graduation, and at this time it was kind of more apparent that he and I weren't close, but it wasn't like enemies, you see. He never really had anything against me until, after graduation we went away. And I believe I was out of town or something. I think I was at my dad's. I can't remember where I was, but I get a phone call from Joe. And since he keeps in touch with his older brother and all his friends, it was like, dude, he goes, did you hear? I was like, what? He goes, Michelle Manning, which is a really good friend that we, known through high school. She's like, she was out at LeBare's, and she saw, I think it was, no, she went for a bachelorette party, and she saw him, like, making out with another guy, and she saw him stripping on stage, okay? So she said that she called Joe, told him that she'd seen Brandon stripping on stage. So we're like, no way. And we're like, I was just kind of, it was kind of like, new information. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this,
Well, I thought you already knew, though, the LeBare's
No,
stuff.
we just, that's the thing.
Suspected.
No, I mistake. Not LeBare's, I said, I correct myself. It was the gay bar.
He was stripping on stage at a gay bar?
At a gay bar. Michelle'd seen him there.
Why is she having a bachelorette party at a gay bar?
Joe said it was a joke. He goes, well, they had a bachelorette party. Instead of going straight to LeBare where there's going to be guys dancing, he said it'd be a funny joke for the, the group of girls to go to the gay bar,
Where there's going to be guys dancing.
Yeah, guys dancing.
Yeah,
and so.
All right, I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't understand why they would want to. He said it was just a joke, whatnot. But anyways, they ended up there.
What's her name?
Michelle Manning.
Is she married now?
Oh, I believe she's engaged to Matt Elmore. They've been high school sweetheart or whatever.
Well, but if she's having a bachelorette party, you would think that they're getting married.
For her or her friend, though, is what
Oh, okay.
But I'm pretty sure she's engaged because we were talking to her in the parking lot during,
She's not the one then that's getting,
I'm pretty sure. I don't know much about her. Joe knows all the details.
You don't have any contact
I just know that Michelle is the one that had first spotted them dancing at the gay bar.
Okay.
So we want more closure on this thing. So we walked by. Me and Dustin, Joe had already gone on down to where he's at for school now, in Buda or some deal like that, some little town down there north of Austin. And me and Dustin were out one night, doing a little every night, IHOP deal, just me and him now because everybody's gone off. And we saw Russell at Walmart working there at the electronics or something. I think it was electronics or something. We go over there and we're like,
this is the physics guy.
The guy in physics. He's really open about his his sexuality. He was like, oh my gosh, he goes, I could not believe it. He goes, I was like, we go, have you heard anything on it? First off, we just said, have you heard anything about Brandon at this gay bar? He goes, oh my gosh, he goes, you will not believe this. I went there and I'd seen him like sitting in another guy's lap all over him. This, Russell did at this gay bar. He told us the name of the bar, everything. It was like Door 9. I don't know the name of it, but he told us the name of the bar. everything. And he said that he'd seen him there, he'd seen him dancing, and he said the actual name of the contest, the best chess contest, was the deal that he was in. And then he's seen him there, with another guy's lap, making out, whatnot. And we're like, holy crap, And all this time, Morgan, kids at school would come up to Morgan Lee, we're like, can you believe that your boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, whatever, is gay and stuff? They've seen him, people have been seeing him here at gay bars and all over with his boyfriends and stuff. And if you get on his little MySpace at myspace.com, which I took Janie Simpson to, if you look on all of his friends, they're all gay and everything. And on one of the survey deals, it says, what do you enjoy most or something like that? He goes, I enjoy riding horses and whatever makes me happy. And another part, it says, get ready, boys, it says, get ready. And he goes, I've got black hair now. Are you ready for this or something like that? And just everything on there. And I took my speech partner, onto it. And she was like, yeah, he's totally gay, She was, 100% stuff. And I was like, but look at all the chicks on here. There's some good-looking chicks on his background pictures. And she goes, yeah, but don't girls look at magazines with models that wear half their clothes and stuff, and all these like CoverGirl and stuff like that? They're like, it doesn't. She goes, I guarantee it doesn't faze them. And that's the tricky thing, I understand. But she was like, trust me, a gay guy will have that stuff everywhere. She's like, gay guys that I know have that stuff everywhere. And she goes, he's gay, no lie about it. And I was just like, And so, but Morgan she's in denial about it. I can't believe it's this and that. And Miss Lee was putting things together, like I could see that, It's like, it doesn't shock me. And she was like, Morgan, you need to get you tested and stuff like that for any, transmitted disease and stuff. And her dad was like, oh, it doesn't surprise me at all either, and you just need to stay away from that kid. But, with Miss Lee and Morgan are like, oh, Brandon's such a sweetheart, because he had a way to charm them and persuade them whatever he wanted. And they didn't know much of his stupid activities and stuff. And so he had a way of, charming them, whatever you want to say. They were always persuaded of him and always in denial of anything that he could have done wrong. Well, she's finally slowly, getting convinced, report after report of people seeing him, and that, he's been gay, so she's finally starting to fall into this. She wants to deny it as she always does. Oh my gosh. She wants to deny it as always, and then, see, after that, the denial. Okay, since we were kind of telling her about, like, the Brandon thing, that's whenever it started getting ugly between me and, it got even worse between Perry and, Dustin and Brandon. It started getting really bad. Let's see. Okay, we were at her house in Poetry on the trampoline one night, like really late, and it was just me, Dustin, this other kid, Jerry, and Morgan. And then we were on the trampoline, and he was texting her, pick up your phone, you need to grow up, and blah, blah. And he goes, actions speak louder than words, and he goes, I don't know who you're with, and stuff like that. Well, finally, he had called, and Jerry had her phone and picked it up and was like, hello? And he was like, yeah, she's down at the barn or some deal, and she's right in front of us because she's trying to, get her space between them and break everything off that she had with him. Now, she was finally convinced that he was gay and stuff. And
do you say that Morgan is convinced that
she was starting to get convinced of it, and she was like, well, I'm just going to be friends with him or whatnot. But before that, she had to keep her total distance with him, to get away from all that. So we were answering his phones. He got totally mad about that. And that's whenever, that night, he was texting her, and I saw it on the text. It was like, Mike, he just thinks he's cool and stuff like that. He goes, Perry, why are you hanging out with Perry? He's white trash. And Jerry, because Jerry's an older guy, and he was like, he said something like that, an old fat, white trash or some deal. And then for Mike, it was, he texts back, and Mike, he just thinks he's cool. And I was just like, yeah, way to go, Moran. You sure have a lot on me. And I was like, that's whenever it surprised me. I'm like, why is he mad at me, And it's because all along that we were like, Morgan, we've heard this and that. People have seen him doing this and stuff like that. We're like, Morgan, he treats you like crap. Just stay away from him, just break it off.
How long ago was this?
This was in, let's see, I don't think I had my broken leg, so it was in July, the end of July, and beginning of August, I believe.
Okay.
Let me think more. It was very recent, actually, very recent. Me and my girlfriend's anniversary was coming up. Her birthday is what me and my girlfriend had an argument over that night. So that was September 4th, her birthday, so it was right before her birthday. It was the weekend of her birthday. She was in Fort with her friend. But anyways, so it was September 4th weekend. That's whenever all this started going down with him starting to dislike me. And so Mike, he just thinks he's cool, whatever. Anyways, that's about it. That's whenever things started getting ugly. It was supposedly because I was running my mouth to Morgan, trying to talk trash about Brandon. You know, every single time that I would say anything about Brandon was whenever I could hear him on the phone and see his text messages, and he'd be on the phone yelling at her and stuff, and blah, 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 and he was just being a little effing, you know, this and that, and blah, blah, you know, you just, and, you know, real controlling like of her and everything, because he knew he had her wrapped around his finger, you know.
But you could actually hear him verbally abusing her?
Yeah, he'd be on the phone, and he'd be like, you need to stop this and that, and then, I don't think she ever would hang up on him or stuff like that, but we'd always tell him, and he could hear us in the background, and we'd make our voice as a parent to, you know, make him just, you know, want to, because what it is, whenever he starts getting mad at her, he's like, that's it, I'm through with you, blah, blah, and this and that, and he goes, you're being a little effing that, and he goes, you're going to regret it, blah, blah, you need to grow up, and he goes, we're effing over, and he goes, I don't even want to think about you anymore. You know, they get off the phone, 10 minutes later, he's text messaging her, you know, can't believe this and that, it's like, you know, and so, that, I mean, that would kind of antagonize him against us, but still, everything that I had ever said to her was, you know, being of a boyfriend of, you know, coming up on 2 years now with my girlfriend, I was like, you know, guys don't treat the girl like that, you know. Anytime me and Lindsay in an argument, we don't say I hate you, you know, we say, you know, you're being a little, you know, effing this and that. It's just, you know, stupid. I said, you don't need that mistreatment. And, so supposedly I'm running my mouth, you know, you need to hate, you know, or dislike Brandon because of all this. And then the second time we had hung out was, you know, Mike's white trash too. I got in a big, well actually no, it was the same night. I wake up the next morning because I had gotten this number off her phone that night. And I texted him, I said, Brandon, I said, you need to just leave Morgan alone. I said, you need to quit mistreating her. I said, just give her space. If you're supposedly over, so just give her space and move on and leave her alone. She doesn't need any of this, you know, baggage behind her, you know. She said, just leave her alone. And I take it to him about 4 in the morning. I wake up and to have a new message on my phone. It said, you know, I don't know who you are. I just got my, you know, my new cell phone stuff. I don't know who you are. You need to stay out of your, you know, other people's business or something like that. And so I call him, and he's still not knowing the number. I call him, and I'm like, Brandon, and he recognized my voice, and he was like, hello, and like hung up, you know. And after, and then so I called back again after that, and like he was like, hello. He goes, yeah, you need to just stay the f out of other, you know, other people's business, blah blah blah, and you and your little white trash friends, and blah blah blah. And so he hung up on me, you know. I was like, all right, no big deal. So I called back again, and I called back again. He answered like, hello. I said, first of all, it became my business when you started talking trash about me, and hung up the phone. And then like later on that day, like I see, not that day, but sometime shortly after that, I see that he'd been giving her text messages that I'm white trash and this and that. And then it evolved from that to being on the internet, how I'm two-faced and stuff, and just, you know, stupid stuff like that. He started getting real distant, you know, just really, really mean, you know, not just distant anymore, but, you know, having something against me now, you know, was the funny thing, because, I mean, I've known him the longest out of everybody. I was, you know, and I was the last person that he actually had something ugly against. And if you get on his MySpace deal, well, actually the computer's been trashed, but his MySpace is still on. I don't know if he's, you know, anybody's have changed it.
What do you mean his computer's been crashed?
Well, the computer where he had wrote and had text messages and stuff, because once upon a time, my friends would get on his MySpace whenever he first started, you know, disliking us in the beginning of the summer or whatnot. And my friend Nicole Hembry would get on and she'd check it, and she'd be like, oh, you know, Brandon's saying this and that. And so she went to email me this thing that said what he was talking about us. And she had said that, I don't know if she'd misread it. Her friend had supposedly read it to Nicole and had misread or something. Anyway, some deal about, there's a question on there about, does he hate his parents, or do you get along with your parents? And not only had previously, whenever we were hanging out, he was like, I hate my effing parents, you know, they need to go to hell, stuff like that. Whenever they're in their little, you know, every time, whenever you started changing and they're catching on to him. But supposedly it had been said on there, you know, my parents, I hate them, they need to go to hell, you know, I wish they just effing die and go to hell. Well,
now you're saying supposedly, but over the phone you said that was on there.
Because I talked to Nicole after I got off the phone, because I remember Nicole told me she emailed me the paper that had it on there, and that was in the beginning of the summer whenever she said that, now it may have been on there whenever she originally emailed me the document, but she said that she looked on it, she goes, I don't remember exactly what it says. So she's looking on it, she goes, no, it says this and that. It says nothing about hating his effing parents. She goes, but I remember telling you that. And then she goes, maybe Stephanie read it off to me wrong or something, and I read it off to you wrong. But she goes, but it's not on there now or something like that. And I was like, well, Nicole, his parents have been found dead. You think it's going to say it by now, you know? And it said that his deal had last been changed. I think this Joe got on it. It said that it tells you when it was last updated or something like that. And it was supposedly last updated, I think Tuesday morning.
That's when it was last accessed.
Accessed or up? I don't know.
No, updated
Accessed
was like September 21st.
Okay, well
or
then
something.
it was then whatever last accessed or some deal. And then so I was just like, that's just, you know, I didn't think anything of it. I said maybe it had been this, but she told me that she thinks it was a misunderstanding. But I remember at the time, it was in the very beginning of the summer, at the time whenever she read it off to me, she started saying how, like, you know, she was telling me how, like, it was just, he was so mean to his parents in the internet little MySpace thing.
All right, Mike, let's hold on real quick because I want to. Because the information that you provided, and I was in the room when you were giving it to Investigator Simpson. You were on the speakerphone, and you laid out that it was on that website that he had said these things.
Exactly, and that's just what I was informed
Personal knowledge is what I was getting, and then when we pulled it up and looked at it, and it was changed.
It said that
we got a call from you that said, "Hey, man, that thing's been changed."
And
that thing's been changed.
And that's whenever, like I said, Nicole had called in a few times, you know, and I was trying to get through that. And then that's whenever, like, I'd gotten on with Nicole. I said, Nicole, what's the deal with that? I said that you told me a while back that this is what it was, you know. And she goes, and she was like, oh no, that must have been a misunderstanding because it doesn't even say anything like that, Mike. And I was like, no. Whenever you emailed me that original document a couple months ago, what did it originally say? She goes, oh, I don't remember and stuff like that. I was like, but you told me that he was ugly to his parents and that it said this. And she goes, well, that must have been a misunderstanding and stuff like that. And that's whenever I'd also called I called Jane Simpson back and left her a message and told her to call me whenever she can. I never got a call from her. But I was going to clarify to her that if she were to talk to Nicole.
Well, but here's the thing, Mike, is that the information that you provided was used as part of the probable cause.
Yeah. And that's,
you understand that?
Yes.
Okay, because that's what we're being told is that this was on the website, that I hate my effing parents. I wish they were effing dead.
Yeah.
They're losers, I think is what you said, and they never do a damn thing for me or something like that. Those are the like the terminology that was used, okay? And that it's been changed.
Now,
and now that's only a little bit of the PC, but that right there is probable cause for arrest and for
not only whether it was on there or not. He had told me I hate my effing parents.
Okay, but I understand that. I'm just saying that now all of a sudden this is coming back to us a little bit different now than the way that it came to us the first time.
Exactly. And as of that time, I had been told that that's what they had read off of it. And I said, well, you know, I'm guessing y'all are probably going to want that, okay? And now that's whenever, like I said, at the time, that's what I was clear of knowledge that it had said that, but it was as of my assumption that in time it has changed.
All right. And you have to understand, I can't deal with assumptions.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's not how it came across. It came across as this is personal knowledge, and we don't use assumptions. But now I'm finding out that that's what's been used.
That was what assumption that I was told, but at the time that I told you that was of saying, you know, she had read it off to me, so therefore that was knowledge to me at the time.
All right.
But then later on, after we got the phone,
well, I mean, I can't do anything about it now because I've sworn out affidavits that said this is what I've been, you know, this is the information that has been received by investigators from you.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what we received, and now all of a sudden, I'm getting that that it was assumed on your part that was on there. Now, are you telling me that
I did not see it with my eyes, but my very good dear friend said that she had been on there and she had read things about him being negative against his parents. And she was like, "Oh my God, Mike, I can't believe that he had that."
Give me just a minute, Mike.
I'm sorry about that, and I understand looking at it now from where y'all are getting that. So, it's just the trickiest thing now is that his computer is missing.
Well, how do you know his computer is missing?
Well, everybody said that. Have you not heard that somebody had the computer? His friends, everybody. Nothing to do with his computer's gone.
What's that? Who's saying that?
My mom had told me that the computer is gone, like, because she said that she needed to tell y'all to get that computer. I said, well, Mom, if it had changed, because I don't know why Nicole would tell me that, but if it had changed, then that change is going to be on that computer, because you can pull it off that hard drive, the motherboard. And so supposedly, my mom had just told me earlier today that the computer when we were in that room, she goes, that computer's missing. And I was like, well, you know. I said something had to have been on there that needed to be found, because he was all about that little MySpace.com thing.
Yeah. All right.
But I mean, I'm sorry. At the time,
I'm gonna get a drink of water real quick.
Yeah.
Just you need something?
Can you mind if I get a drink of water?
Yeah, come on. Well, we got a tape going. We probably need to.
I just left it in the other room.
Huh?
I left mine in the other room.
Go get yours, and you come back in here, and then I'll go get a drink.
You want to change that? We're like 20 minutes or so.
Mine's well. Yeah, that's fine. We're gonna go ahead while I'm getting a drink. I'm gonna. Do you need more?
Yeah, you could.
We're gonna change. Here, I'll just get you a new cup. Don't worry about it. We're gonna change tapes out. I'm gonna go get some water real quick.
Hey, look, I'm still up here. They're switching out tapes and stuff like that. So. No, they're recording the deal, so they had to switch out the tapes and we get a drink of water. Why? No. I told him, I said, I don't want to get too into this, but supposedly it's what they need. Well, I mean, what you got, I mean, I'm not like straight up, I mean, you don't sit there and just say, you can't sit there and just say it's him. You have to tell him everything that you know about him, all the good things that, have happened and stuff like that. And Joe, you do. Oh. Joe, you're getting upset. Chill.
You don't.
I know. I'm watching how deep I get into it. I mean, if you don't want to, I said I'm watching how deep I get into it. I mean, what I'm doing here, it's not like you're straight up saying, oh yeah, Brandon did or some deal like that. You're just simply telling them what you know of Brandon, how you know him, what it is, how everything's gone, how y'all's friendship has gone on and stuff like that. It's not like, what do you know about Brandon doing this or that? They're not saying that he did or didn't do it. They're just wanting to know information on him to see if they have a good enough case to put against him. They're what? Okay. It's not that big of a deal. If you don't want to do the little recording, it's fine. I thought it's just what you have to do. But I don't know. No, but in order to take him to court, you have to show enough evidence to say that could be against him. You see what I'm saying? I don't have to. Hmm. Joe, you don't come in here and bash Brandon. You can't be doing that crap. You have to tell. All I've told him, Joe, is all about how, growing up, just, all the good things, we'd all hang out and stuff like that. And it was like a brotherhood. And then I've told him facts that they can find out on their own. Okay? So, well, I don't blame you. I didn't want anything to do with it either. Well, if they find him, some deal, put him in some hospital or something like that, and he gets out 5, 10 years, and I'm missing, who did it. I know that's what I want. That's what I told my mom. I said I'm not going to go on stand or anything like that. Just it's not asking like, what do you know on Brandon about this? It's just tell us a little about your relationship. Yeah, and that's all it is. I'm telling him all the things that I've telling him all the things that I've picked up on Brandon and some of the things that he was doing that he shouldn't have been doing and just stuff like that. No, I mean they asked about the fight and stuff like it's funny. One guy was like, "So who got the better half of the deal?" I was like, "I think Joe did." It's all have reported documents on the fight, so they don't, if they need anything special on the fight, they can just look up that crap. I don't know. I wouldn't want anything to do with it either, but if that's what they need. Yeah, I know. But yeah, you know how like Nicole had told me all that stuff that she read off a couple months ago, and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden she looked it up and she's like, no, I don't see it. She's like, maybe I was just misreading or maybe I misread it or some deal. Yeah, you know what? They use that crap because I told them they were assuming like they were assuming that I had seen it myself, you know, and so they put that crap on the news and so I come in here and I talked to Nicole since then and she goes, no, I was just must have been misreading it because it's it says nothing like that on there, and she goes, I know what you're talking about, but she goes, it's a long time ago. I must have just misread it or some deal because it's not on there. And so I was like, oh, well, great, Nicole, stuff like that. And it turns out they actually full out, like, use it, you know, I mean, they had a right to do it, it's just like, you know, and then, like, once I told them that, you know, Nicole told me that she must have misread it, then, you know, it wasn't cool, you know. They just, I mean, they were just, he, like, got up and, no, not really like that, sort of. Not like what you see on TV, none of that crap.
Hey, I get, oh.
No, it's fine now. Hey, Joe, I gotta go, okay? Alright, later. Alright.
Instead of water, I got him coming in, bringing some Cokes. Is Cokes all right with you?
That's fine. No, I really am sorry about the whole deal.
Well,
I told Joe, I said, remember,
Mike,
whenever
here's the
Nicole
thing though,
told me
that you gotta understand, because you're on the telephone and I was in the room on the speakerphone listening to you give out that information, and that information was very matter of fact,
exactly,
first-hand knowledge, and that's not what you're telling me right now.
Exactly.
And you have to understand that, you know, documents were prepared that I swear to, that this information came across to us.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, there's nothing I can do about that now. You know, I swore to the fact that that's what I believed was true and correct. And I stand beside that, because at that time I believed that it was true and correct. You don't understand what kind of a bind, you know, that really puts you in for providing that information. I mean, I'm glad that we're getting this out of the way now.
Now it's
but
like,
it's not, this is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Okay? And it, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little excited.
No, I don't blame you. I mean,
I'm just
I
telling
look back
you,
on it now, it's like, you know, I thought that it's getting it to you. I was like, you know, she told me that months ago, and I even recall her telling me, because that's what stuck in my mind. And that's one of the first thing that triggered in my mind is what she'd read off to me months ago. Whenever the first thing I heard, his parents were killed, and where he was that day, you know, where he was supposed to, where he, you know, everything just falling into place. I'm like, holy crap! I said, remember this? And then like I was just putting everything together, and so like giving it to y'all, it's like I figured that, you know, I didn't think that.
Well,
like,
I mean, that's information that's important. Exactly. We need to know if he hated his parents and if he wished they were dead. I gave it to y'all as a possibility, is like whether I had read it or not. Even if she told me that she'd read it, that's not how it was. That's not how it was reported to us.
Exactly.
It was reported to us as, you know, this is a factual thing. I know for a fact that the website, and you didn't know what the website was, but I've seen it on the website that it said this, and that's what was used. Then we go back up on the website and actually find a website, pull up the profile, and it says, do you get along with your parents? And it said something like, you know,
yes,
LOL,
no.
Really, I love them, okay? And then we get a call. We didn't make contact with you. You made contact with us saying that's been changed. That has been changed.
Because that's whenever I got on the website and I was like, it's not on there. I talked to Nicole and she goes, no. She goes, either it's been changed or it's been misread. She goes, I must have just misread it then. And I was like, Nicole. And I was like, I told them that this
all right, Mike, it would have been a whole lot better if we had been contacted and told, hey, it was misread. That's just a you know. But the fact that that was changed.
Yeah.
That was changed on that website.
And for all I know, she may have read it for the right way, and it was changed, and that's why his computer may be missing if it is.
Okay. I just got a problem with using assumptions that were really reported to us as this is first-hand information.
Yeah.
Okay? So we don't really... Has anything else that you've told us in this interview?
That's the only thing that I took.
You got first-hand knowledge.
That's the only thing that I took as fishy information that knowing that y'all could research deeply, that I'm pretty sure that y'all could somehow have, like if it was on that hard drive, my mom had told me that, you know, she's always preached that the hard drives can be restored. I said, and so knowing that that wasn't 100% from my eyes, knowing that Nicole had once read it off to me, was like, well, if that's the fact, then I know that I'm pretty sure that if it was on the computer, then
Mike, that can be done.
Exactly.
But it takes time.
Exactly.
Okay?
And I told my mom
But let me ask you something. Would you want somebody to come along and give information on you that puts you in jail while it takes us several months or something to investigate something like that while you're sitting in jail?
No.
You wouldn't want that, would you?
Not at all.
Okay? So now that puts Brandon in a bind. I'm not saying that that's the only probable cause on this thing. That's a very, very small portion, But I'm saying that you provided information to investigators that was used as probable cause to where he's sitting in a jail cell right now. We've taken his liberty away from him. That's one of the hardest things that a police officer has to do, okay, is remove somebody's liberty to in the home of the land of the free and the home of the brave. I mean, that people expect their freedom, they expect their liberty, and here information that you have provided has been used as part of probable cause to take somebody's liberty away from them.
Yeah.
Okay? I got a problem. I got a huge problem with that. I don't necessarily have a problem with what has happened, okay, because there's other probable cause. All right? And yours may not have been needed to do that, but I'm telling you that that was me that swore those affidavits out. Okay? That wasn't somebody else, that's me. That's why I'm upset about the fact that now the information is just, I don't even know that it's secondhand. Okay? Now you're telling me right now that you heard from his own mouth that he hated his parents and he wished they were dead.
In his truck at Walmart, right after he got the phone with his dad.
Okay, but that's not how it was reported in the application.
No, but I remember telling Janie in the phone that we were in his truck and he had just got the phone with his parents, and that's whenever he had said it to me. That's whenever he had said it.
It came out of his mouth.
It came out of his mouth. He had said it.
Okay.
And so that's when I remember telling her. I don't remember if it was right before I told her about the internet deal, but I remember I did tell her that he had said it.
Okay. Let me ask you this, Mike. Do you have any other friends that have said they hate their parents because of the way that their parents are controlling?
Yeah, but none of them that had said, anytime that it was said, it was a matter of, I'm grounded, I hate my parents, blah, 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 But in a matter of him on a casual occasion to say it is one thing. He had always said these words of anger on a casual occasion, and that's what I'm saying, is you could tell as a parent, he did not get along with his friends. Now, any other person, my stepbrothers, I hate my dad, he's busting me for this, he busted me for smoking the other day, I hate him, blah, blah, blah. But for him to just get off his phone after just lying to his parents and sitting there and saying, I hate him, and they totally fell for his lie and everything, and then he would sit there and say, I hate him, and it was apparent that they did not get along at all. They never would once he started falling into this little phase, and they were figuring him out. He told us that they were figuring him out, and they were clenching down on his freedom. So once that started happening, is whenever things started getting ugly, and it was after that he had, was supposed to be at home or his always excuse every day that he was out, and after hours, even on school nights, was he was at his stables training his horses. That's a load of crap. He was off in Denton or Sulphur Spur or some other town, He was always off in some other town, and he would always talk to his parents, and his way of them not knowing where he is was that he was at the stables training his horse, getting ready for horse shows. But for him to say those kind of things and to see the relationship that he has with his parents, it wasn't a normal, everyday little, I hate my dad, nothing like that. It was a serious,
You understand though, growing up, I don't know how many times I heard my sister say I hate my parents.
And that's what I'm saying.
And my parents aren't dead. Okay?
Exactly.
And there's a big difference between a teenager who just says I hate my parents. That by itself to me does not mean a whole lot.
Then I told Jane, she goes, does he say it more than anyone else? I said I wouldn't say that because in the crowd, the people that do say it, he said it just about as often as they did, as anybody else.
And I remember hearing that. But you understand that the thing with the webpage and then that, hey, that's been changed. And you're the one who called us with that saying that's been changed.
Yeah.
That's been changed. Okay? The changing of it is what, to me, is what, do you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
Okay?
Now.
There's one thing that it's documented, it's written down on paper or on the computer or whatever, and then something like this happens, and that's been changed. That creates a problem to me when you're looking at that from an investigative standpoint, okay? If somebody misread it, then to me that's not a problem, okay? That's not an issue. We don't need to be looking there.
Yeah.
We've been looking there because of the information that was provided by you.
Well, I'm saying I wouldn't stop looking there because I don't know why she would have read it off to me wrong in the beginning.
And who was it? Who was the person that read it off to you in the beginning?
Nicole Hembry, and she had told me, she said, Mike, you will not believe the things that he's wrote about his parents and about everyone here back in Rockwall. And at the time,
Hembring?
no,
Hembring?
Hembree, E-E, B-R-E-E.
B-R-E-E.
And she had
Is
said,
she the one that you provided the...
She's the one that had kept me informed with everything online had come from her, because I had had no internet access until just previously at school. I'd actually
You have Nicole's numbers?
Yes.
And with you right now?
Yeah. Whatever that first one is.
What is that? Is that a cell or is that
her cell phone? The second one is just some temporary phone that she had for a couple of days. She said that, ugly things about her parents and about kids back at home. And I asked if there's anything on me, and she goes, at the time, no. And then she said that you won't, but still for ugly, she was, saying that he, wished his parents would die and go to hell. And then she goes, and for Dustin, that, he's some goofy nerd. And for Joe Hagman. And then, I don't know when the things went on there about me, but when she first told me this stuff about the parents, I supposedly wasn't on there. And then whenever we looked at the day that that we found out about the homicide stuff, we were on there, and I was on the phone with her, and she was online with me. Thanks for the drink. And that's when she said that Mike. She goes, and she listened to this. She goes, Michael Etherington, two-faced, two-faced B or whatever. And that's whenever. And then the next day I got on, and I saw it for myself. I saw the website for myself.
Who gave us the AOL or whatever? Remember, it was some girl you were talking to that said, well, just get on under my password.
Nicole, that's Nicole.
That was Nicole.
Yeah, she's the one that's always kept me informed with the web, anything online she's kept me informed with. Because she's graduated, she doesn't do much, she sits around kind of, doesn't really do much, and she's online a lot and keeps in touch. And she's actually had a phone conversation with him.
With who?
Brandon, not too long ago. I'm guessing about a month ago.
About what? Do you know?
Just like reasons why he dislikes everyone here back in town. And I kept asking her, because I was trying to call him, that's whenever me and him were kind of really getting into it at each other. And I said, Nicole, what does he have against me? I said, he's called me white trash. He's called me this. I said, I am the furthest thing from all of this, I said, why is he calling me this? And she said that she'd ask him questions, and he goes, I don't need to tell you. He goes, I just have my reasons and stuff like that. And but she was like, I feel kind of sad for him, blah blah blah. Everybody here at town. He's like, yeah, everybody in Rockwall hates me and stuff like that, and blah blah. I'm like, Nicole, you understand? You have fallen into one of those little everyday little lies. I said, you cannot trust him. You have to always second guess him and evaluate it, multiple times. Well, she called me the other day and was just like, yeah, I've heard from. Stephanie Purefoy, girl Stephanie Purefoy and Nicole are really good friends, and Stephanie's actually in one of his classes at ACU. Mm-hmm. And she called me tonight and was just like, yeah, I've heard a lot of stuff on Brandon and stuff like that. And she goes, you were so right. She goes, I should have listened to you and not believed a word he told me about that day there at a phone conversation. And I don't know if she remembers much detail, but if you need any detail on that phone conversation,
I'll call her.
Okay.
Because we're gonna have to. That's got to be cleared up.
And
okay.
So the last I'd heard from her was she must have misread it to me. So.
Boy, I know I wouldn't want to be sitting in jail because somebody misread something.
Well, I hadn't had internet access since maybe even beginning semester of my senior year, so I don't know how I could have ever read it. I haven't had internet access forever, and I've never seen this website, but I remember telling that Nicole has always been the one that has seen it. I've never seen it.
How did you know it was changed?
How to know that it was changed? I didn't. That's what I said. She said that she had misread it, and then that it had been. She said, "Okay, I never, like I said, have never seen it at the beginning. I've only seen the finished product of what it is now. So whether
I've seen
what it is. If you were to get on today, I've seen what it is today.
How did you see that?
I got on at school, and I got onto his little MySpace deal, and then I was talking to this whenever I asked that girl in my class of what she thought of him, and she was like, yes, you know, he's gay or stuff like that. And that's the only time that I have ever seen this webpage in my life was that day.
Maybe I missed this part.
No, well, sit and talk to him real quick because I right now,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hate to tell you this, Mike, but I'm just about ready to strangle you. You know what I mean?
I understand it 100%.
And I just want to step out for just a moment, and I just want to regain my composure. I don't want to raise my voice to you. I just want to interview you. I just want to get as much information as I can.
I'm a very disciplinary kid.
And I need to kind of step back for just a moment and just you talk to him and just please.
Okay, who was supposed to have seen this website?
Okay,
that actually said on there, I hate my fucking parents and I want to fucking die.
Okay, there's a girl, Stephanie and Nicole. They're little buddies. Stephanie went off to Abilene Christian with Brandon, is now presently in the class with him.
Right.
Nicole has always been at home. She's been on the internet, and just, you know, once every month or two, she'd keep me informed on what the latest, like, oh my gosh, this website says this. Okay? Well, that's whenever she had told me. Now here's the trickiest. After I had told y'all what she had told me, the most screwed up thing that, seriously, I called her, I talked to her, I said, yeah, that, I said they wanted anything, so I told them what you told me about the website, and she goes, and so she you know has gotten on it recently. She goes, Mike, it says nothing about that. She goes, I remember reading you that stuff, and she emailed me it too. And since my internet's been screwed up, I haven't gotten that email. Our AOL account's closed down, so that email's, you know, had never been able to been pulled up on my computer so I can read it myself. She said that ugly things have been said about his parents and about everybody here home from Rockwall. And I was like, so basically anybody, any person from Rockwall.
So Nicole could tell us what's been said. Will she remember what's been said?
Now here's the thing. The way that she made it clear to me is that this is what she's been reading offline. Now, that day, after I got off the phone with you, I call her, tell her, she goes, Mike, it's not on there now. I said, well, what do you mean? You told me that you had read it. She goes, I said, and plus it was also emailed in that deal, it was in a part of that you emailed me. She goes, I don't remember exactly what's in there. She goes, Stephanie had read it. She started telling me that Stephanie had read it to her, and that must have been a misunderstanding on Stephanie's part. And I was like, no, Nicole, you read it to me. She goes, well, then it must have been a misunderstanding on my part because it's not on there now. And that's why I'm thinking, well, why would Nicole read that off to me? You know, either it has changed since then, because Nicole wouldn't just sit there and just, oh yeah, there's bad things about his parents, you know? And that's where it came from, you know? But back then I didn't care to remember any of this information because nothing had happened to his parents. Back then it was just, you know, he's mad because he's always disliked his parents and stuff. So it's nothing new to me. He's always disliked Perry and Joe. It's nothing new to me. So what she had told me back then was just blunt information that I could care less for. I cared if I said, am I on that? She goes, no, I don't see you on here. Okay. And then whenever I got on it here, just recently, whenever I got to see it, I was on there. And she had called me and told me that I am now on there as a two-faced, you know.
Okay. Let's kind of switch tracks just a minute. What, have you ever known of any other incidents that happened to animals besides the cat incident? Have you known of any animals that he's had that has died?
Now, he's had a goat, or I don't think he's never done goats, so it's been a lamb that's died. He says that it was poisoned, killed, whatever. He went before
Who does he say did that, or was responsible? Or did he have any explanation?
No explanation as to my concern. My mom knows all the detail on that because he went to the fair board, and even his parents that were on the fair board, they said, Brandon, the rules have it that you get one animal, okay? And this project, you get that one market animal. If something happens to it, if it doesn't, you know, meet the weighing station, if it doesn't meet the weighing, you know, requirements to be able to sell, you only get one animal, okay? Well, the animal died. He said poison, supposedly, or whatever. Somehow it had died. He said someone killed or something. Went to the fair board and pleaded before the fair board asking to have a second animal. Well, even his mom, being on the fair board,
disagreed with him, you know, saying, Brandon, I can't do this for you, you know, because then everybody else in the world is going to want to do it and stuff like that. She goes, rules are rules. You just got to live by it. That's just life, you know, life lessons. Things are how they are. You can't do anything about it, you know. So that was one incident, and you know, that's one that my mom knows really good detail on. She and Norma, you know, they talk a lot, so she knows a lot of detail on that. But there's that one, and then a horse had just recently died of his, and that was it was our senior year, I believe, towards the end of the year. One of his horses had died. I don't know which one it was, but we think you know, that's what I'm saying. I was talking to my mom. She goes, "Do you remember what horse it was?" I said, "No, I just know a horse of his had died," and that's all that I know. So one of his horses, and then the cat incident, and then the lamb being gone. But I'm not saying that the lamb and the horse had anything to do with it, but just, you know, you asked animals.
Did you know anything about any other animals, any other pets or anything like that?
Only thing was, you know, like I said, he getting that steroid for his pig, and
did you know anything about a dog dying?
What do you think? His dog did die. His prized, I don't know if it was German Shepherd, but some dog. He used to get these German Shepherds, you know, and this is whenever he was first, I mean, very beginning, get really into animals. He was all about dogs. He was, you know, the dog guy. And one of them, he had, you know, one of his dogs, he started getting, not the Rottweiler, the Doberman. He had a Doberman, and I'd mowed his yard quite a bit, you know, because his parents told him to. And, you know, I'd go back there and I'd see the dogs. Well, I can't remember when it happened, but I'm like I said, I don't want to sit there and make assumptions, but yes, I'm sure that someone else would know for sure. But yes, a dog had been, I believe, antifreeze is what I'm trying to remember if he told me.
Okay.
Was one of his dogs, and I remember because it was his favorite, it was his best dog, the one that he'd sent to Germany to get trained or something. It may have been a story that he gave me, you know, but.
Did he indicate to you that he had ever had any ideas about who poisoned the dog?
No, he just, not at all. I don't want to, now see, I'm just saying, now I don't want to tell you unless I'm 100% sure. It's just like, because like honestly with that internet deal, I figured that they would have pulled the computer. That's why it shocked the crap out of me whenever I saw on the deal. I'm like, you know, I was with my girlfriend, I was like, I can't believe they put that on there, because I thought that y'all were going to get that computer, you know, break down the hard drive and tear it off that motherboard and break it down before y'all would use it. And I'm like, you know, because I didn't think that I thought that anything y'all could use was things that y'all could see, not people's words. And that's why, I feel terrible about it. And then it's just like, I just thought they would have done more research on that, you know, to see if, because for all they know, I could have been some guy calling in to bash Brandon, you know. But, yeah, other than his dog, but I don't think that was our senior year.
What kind of relationship did he and his parents have?
Growing up, they were fine. I mean, it was always them against Charla, it seemed. And supposedly, my mom knows all the detail on Charla, but I was a real little kid and that was going on. Brandon and the parents would, you know, kind of, you know, they'd tell Charla, you know, that we need to get you this medication, some mental help, you know, I don't want to get to line anymore. My mom knows all detail on that. But anything against Charla, now he had never, I remember our freshman year, he could not stand Charla. He talked trash about her, you know, all this and that. He could not stand his sister. And anytime that she would try to do something, you know, he would just bash her and stuff like that. If she was ever, you know, anything, you know what I'm saying, just the littlest deal, he was always negative against his sister for it. And it seemed like he and his parents were fine growing up, you know. But once he started, you know, him always wanting to be the little crazy guy, having to be the guy that you only hear about, you know, he gets more opportunity and more freedom in life. So he tries, you know, he gets, you know, with that, the craziness has to get bigger. Him getting there, his parents finding out about this stuff. He told us at school, he goes, he didn't tell us what he's been doing. He just made it real apparent. He goes, I'm going to stop. He goes, I have to stop doing some of the things I've been doing because my parents are catching on to me. Those were his words. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, okay, because then after he kind of walked away, me and Dustin were kind of like, well, we think that he's been doing crap because of all of his gestures. We know he's been stripping, and we think of gay activity, you know, of homosexual activity. And that's about it, you know. Okay. So, but he said that his parents were catching on, and that was around the same time frame that we would still hang out, you know. Mm-hmm.
And you was around his parents some, right?
Yes, sir.
How would their relationship seem to be? They seem to get along good?
The two, I mean, this is the thing, you know, they're an older couple. They're not like, oh, no flirty stuff. But for the age of their couple, they're perfectly fine. They're just, you know, Dennis was a character of his own, and Norma was always, you know, you could kind of see that Dennis was kind of the younger, not like, you know, physically younger, like age-wise, but just he would act really young. He would joke around. He's a substitute at the high school. Really, like, really good character guy, real good personality. Exactly. His mom, she had the loving heart. It's just you could tell she's a busy woman, and you could tell that because I mean she would always look stressed out. She'd always just she's always trying to get through things, and you know she was just nothing against nothing in between the two of them. You know they'd come home. You'd be the couple that you'd see just come home, sit down, just watch TV. You know nothing much. You know not like.
Did you ever witness any kind of arguments or anything like that?
Nothing between the parents. Only between mainly Brandon and his mom. Because it seemed like in the parenting and child relationship, it seemed that the mom was more of the disciplinary. You see.
Now, did you actually witness Brandon and his mom not getting along from time to time?
Well, not getting along that people would like in public that would ever happen was just like at 4-H meetings, Brandon would do something stupid trying to get his attention, and Norma would just kind of sit there and be like, Brandon, just like Brandon, stop, stuff like that. And he'd just be like, just kind of stop, no big deal. And that's really, the older we got, the more that I didn't see them as much as I did when I was younger, you see. Because we wouldn't go to the different, stock shows and stuff like that where they would be at. So the older that we got, the less that I saw of his parents. Only time I saw of them was at like 4-H meetings and stuff like that. But it was still our senior year that I was president and he was vice president, and he would, just kind of, he'd talk out loud and act up or say something stupid for the attention, and his mom would just get on to him. And but that was before things started getting ugly, He never really, I hadn't witnessed anything once they were like, once he started, really not getting along with them, I hadn't witnessed anything myself personally.
Okay. Have you ever heard him tell you anything about his parents? I mean, verbally tell you something against his parents?
No, not. Only thing was that I hate him. That's just it. They need to go to hell.
And you heard him say that.
I heard him say that in his.
You've heard other kids say that too, haven't you?
Yes, I have, and that's what I made clear. I said that he says it just about as much as any other.
Right.
And
Mike, what's your cell phone number? Is that the only cell phone you've got?
Yes, sir. Well, I don't got to work, so I'll better tell you that.
I'm going to let you get information from him. I just need I'm going to get some other information from you real quick, and then I'm going to let Joel finish up the interview, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Was there problems between you and Brandon over scholarship money in 4-H? Did he get more than you did?
I got more than him in 4-H, yes. Then it came down to the fair board scholarship. Mm-hmm. There's a 4-H fair board, and this year they came up with a new one, the Lions, okay? Well, he got the 4-H. He was swearing up and down that he's going to get this fair board. And so he was all like, well, behind my back, he would tell to Joe and stuff. He would tell, he was talking behind my back, and between Joe or Dustin, one of the two of them, whoever he was at the time, that, oh, well, I've got to get this because I've done more than, I've won more, I've done more animals than Mike, and I've done this and that more than Mike, and just stuff like that, And so he was telling everybody that he's got it sewed up, he's got that scholarship. I don't really care, I was like, well, it's clear that I wasn't even able to, I wasn't able to run for the 4-H one. And so like my last resort on towards 4-H and stuff like that or anything activity with 4-H would have been the fair board. And I didn't get that either. But there was a new one that came in this year, the Lions, and I had gotten that one as like kind of like a second runner up to the fair board. Mm-hmm. I got the Lions. And then the Cassie Curse is the one that got the fair board. And he was shocked as can be. And like this is before like, he was all, Mike's, this and that. So I called him and I was like, did you hear who got that? And he was like, yeah. And I don't know how she got it and stuff like that and blah, blah. I was just like, kind of like.
Which board was his mother on?
I believe the fair board.
She wasn't on the 4-H board. She was on the fair board.
She was 4-H manager. I think our senior year was the year that I was president. I remember I was pretty sure she was the manager of the 4-H club.
But you were president. He was vice president
Yes,
of 4-H.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When's the last time you were at Morgan Lee's house?
At her house. I'm wanting to say the last time, because I don't remember ever being there after that, was the September 4th weekend whenever we're out.
You said y'all were in poetry, though.
Poetry. Yeah, that's her. Okay.
I want to know where.
Any house in general, okay, that's what you're saying. Any house in general. In Oklahoma, we went to her house.
No. I don't want to know about Oklahoma. I don't want to know about poetry.
What about her house here in the Shores?
The house that they live in there in Rockwall.
Okay, the house in Rockwall. I was there after the weekend of the Oklahoma because I left my I left a pair of shorts and something else in the car. Anyways, I left stuff over there in the car from the weekend. We came home, left it in the car, and I needed it. My electric razor and my shorts. Went over there, picked it up, and that was it. You know,
When
that was the
when
last
was
time.
that? When's the Oklahoma trip?
I don't know exact dates.
Well,
I mean,
just approximate. Were you still in high school?
Oh no,
Was
no,
it
no.
over
This
the
is,
summer?
No,
Was
this
it?
is just
been
recently. I wanted to say it was in September some weekend.
in September?
Around anywhere in the 10th, 17th, and 24th, one of those.
10th, 17th, or 24th?
Yeah, and with research I can find that exact date, but it was just in September sometime in 2005.
When you go over to, or when you went over to her house, did you just get the stuff out of the car, or did you go in? Or?
No, I went in and we just talked about it, and we talked about how because after we'd been back, Brandon had said more about him not liking us there, you know, stuff like that. And then we talked about my girlfriend, you know, she planned some weekend with her girlfriends, and that's the reason why I went at the last minute. And so like the last minute I planned to go, and it was the Rockwall homecoming weekend, was it? I'm pretty sure it was the 10th.
Well, Rockwall homecoming.
Whenever the Rockwall homecoming, it was that weekend because we all went to the football game, and that night at Joe Willie's they said, "Well, Mike, we're leaving tomorrow," and I was like, and then Lindsay was planning her weekend, and so that's whenever I said, "Hey, I'm going to go with y'all too because Lindsay's going to be busy all weekend."
Okay.
So whatever this is, if you can find Rockwall homecoming date this year, that's the weekend.
Okay. When you go over to their house, and how come you haven't been back over to the house? Since then?
That's the thing with me and Morgan. We're not like Dustin and the Lees are close, okay. And me and the Lees, it's just kind of like it's just the friend that the friend's there, but it's not an everyday acquaintance.
Okay. When you go over there, where do y'all hang out?
The only time like I really say we hang out mainly in the kitchen and the living room and stuff like that. We went upstairs one night. One time we went there, and actually Brandon and Morgan, it was me and Lindsay, we went upstairs to watch a movie. But that was back in the school year, and Joe showed up, and that really pissed Brandon off. But
the four of y'all were there. The only time you've been upstairs was back in the school year, and it was
back in the school year. And then the second time was whenever we went to the poetry deal. I had gone, me and Perry had spent the night there, right?
At the Lees?
Yes, sir. And
Okay.
then that's whenever
Where did you stay?
I stayed up because all three of us were up there and we were watching a movie. Dustin went ahead and went to sleep. I don't know where he went to sleep. Morgan fell asleep on the couch, and I had fallen asleep on the couch. And then like after that, I got up, and then I was looking around, and she told us beforehand that just find an empty bed or whatever. So I got up, and then I went in, and then her room had the fan on, so I went ahead and I just slept on her bed there.
Is the poetry weekend this Rockwall homecoming weekend?
Yes, sir. We left Saturday morning after the Rockwall homecoming game. Because I remember Morgan wasn't going to go to the homecoming because she was thinking of going to Commerce with Jerry. But instead of going to Commerce with Jerry, he went to Commerce, but we went to Oklahoma at the last minute.
Describe the upstairs room that y'all watched the movie for.
It's got, this is it. Big screens over there in the stereo system. Got a couch here, a couch there. Not a recliner, but a big, couch with a leg.
How's it decorated?
Dark colors. I mean, just for the fact that it's a TV room, And it's like where they watch the movies. It's got like little lights and stuff. I think there's 2 lights on the. If you walk in the door, which would be right here, you have the couch, and I believe there's 2 little like light that can like dimming lights that can go up and down. And I think that's about it.
Is it like a trophy room or anything where there's animal heads and stuff like that?
No, I don't. Not
Doesn't he have a?
He has. Oh yeah, he has
that
right before you get in there. So you're coming up the stairs, and you have to get in through that room. There's a workout station in the center. And there's the trophy room. You could say the heads on the wall and stuff. Okay. But as you get in there, you turn like a sharp left, and then like a U-turn type left, and you walk straight into the room, the TV room, the entertainment room, if you'd say.
Okay.
It's just strictly the big screen with 2 couches and the seat. And like I said, it's a dark color paint. I can't remember the exact color, but it's a darker color. And they had fixed it up that way because they knew it'd be the movie room, and they, just for the movie reasons and stuff.
Okay. Do you remember ever seeing a gun or anything up in that trophy room, or?
No, I don't.
Up in the movie room?
I just told myself I'm watching my steps now. No, I don't. To my memory as of now, I said it.
What do you mean watching your steps?
Like about things that I'd say. I don't want to be like, well, I'm kind of remembering. I just want to. If I don't remember for sure, I'm going to say no.
Okay. Well, and that's best. I mean, that is best. And I'm gonna, like I said, I'm just going to get a little bit of information from you, and then I'll let him finish up with the rest of the interview. Okay, Rockwall Homecoming Weekend was the last time you were there. You were up in the movie room, and then you crashed on her bed, right?
Yes, sir. I fell asleep on the couch, and about 3 a.m. I went to her room because I was sweating like crazy, and I knew that earlier that now if anybody would take offense that it was her bed, but she had said just find an empty bed. And there was the cold ceiling fan, so I fell asleep on that bed.
Okay. Where was she?
She was still in the movie room, and she had slept there throughout the whole night on that couch in the movie room where she had originally fallen asleep.
Okay. Do her parents ever come up and check, or?
They were already in Oklahoma. They were already at the cabin in Oklahoma. We were supposed to go meet them, and supposedly we weren't supposed to be at the house. Later on, we found out she was like, because I'd found out, and it was supposed to just be me and Dustin there, and I don't know where, I can't remember where she said she was going to stay. But originally it was just going to be me and Dustin because Dusty lives way out in Poetry, and we're in or out near Poetry, and we were going to just kind of meet up there in town and just go down the road. And so I was like, well, I figured we're going to be leaving early, so we'll all just he said that he's going to stay there, so I said, well, I'll just go ahead and meet up with you there. And then I got there, and then Morgan's there, and supposedly later on to find out that we weren't supposed to be there. That's probably why. If you're wondering any question about that, that's what really happened. Was that supposedly we weren't all supposed to be there. I don't know if her parents really cared or not, but it was just a concern to Morgan, I believe.
Okay. Do you own any guns?
I own a Winchester. I don't personally own in my name, but in my room I have a single shot 22. I have a 10 clip automatic 22 rifle. The first one's a rifle too, and then there's the 2 over there, and then I have a couple pellet guns. And then in my closet I have a Winchester 270 deer rifle, and that's a single shot. Okay. And then my brother has, in his gun closet, we have his shotgun. I believe that's it in that one.
Okay. All right.
Any other guns in the house?
My mom informed me, because I was talking last night about concealed handgun and stuff like that, and she said that she has a pistol that I think the law gave her, the agency or whatever gave her. And that's about it. Now my grandma had had one, but I believe she got rid of it, and that's it. That was about 5-6 years ago that her gun showed up.
When's the last time that you've been? We talked about the Lee's house. The Woodruffs used to live in Heath, right?
Yes, sir.
And I take it that if you're good friends with Brandon, or you were growing up, that you've been over to that house before, and you know the house well.
Oh, yeah.
When's the last time that you've been to the Heath address?
The Heath was whenever I mowed his yard, and I never went into the actual house. I just went in the garage to get the gas tank and the mower, and that was.
When was that?
Excuse me, I usually can't know. It's in the school year, right before it was whenever he and Joe were against each other, and that was because Joe was like, "Why are you doing that for him?" and blah blah blah, and I was like, "Because I have nothing against him."
That was the end of the school year, though.
Coming up on it, I think it was just I randomly mowed his yard throughout the spring, coming into summer.
Okay.
Now, I don't remember exact dates, but he would pay me to mow his yard because his parents told him they want it done by the time they get home in the evening, and he told me at the last minute, "Dude, you need to mow my yard again, I'll pay you."
Okay.
he would, and turns out that in time I've heard from other people that he would, make remarks that once he started disliking me to make himself better than me, that I would always do his dirty work. I'd have to mow his yard for him, and
Okay.
you know what I'm saying, stuff like that. Like I was the underdog. So
Did you get along with his parents all right?
yeah, there was kind of tension. I don't know if it was just because. I believe it was all because, and I was talking to my friend about that. I was like, it's kind of sad because me and his mom kind of had not like tension, like anger, but I could just tell that the competition between me and Brandon and the scholarships and stuff like that, that kind of raised the stakes to where she wasn't the 100%, really nice and friendly to me, like real, hey Mike, But if I ever messed up as the president of 4-H, like if I forgot, something small, she'd kind of just, she's kind of just like, kind of like, well, Brandon probably wouldn't have forgotten, that kind of attitude.
Okay.
And but nothing like anger wise, just simply, her son versus me. She's not gonna be able to take my side on everything. So she'd look for little pessimistic things that I could possibly do. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But be honest with you, no, we're never.
What about her or his dad?
Dad, no, I've never. Me and him never really talked that much. I don't even know, because I know he really talked to Joe a lot. Me and him never really talked. We would, but not like we wouldn't just go up and start randomly talking. Like at a 4-H group, I would just kind of do my thing, do the meeting, and then after that I'd get out. I'd help stay there till there's a few people whatever left, and then I'd go ahead and go my ways. I wouldn't ever just go over there and just start opening up a conversation with them and talking to them, because they've been there my whole life. So why would I, ever since I was 7 years old? So. You know what I'm saying? It's just something real casual. It's not like, we're best friends or anything like that.
Okay. When I came in earlier, you were on the phone, and I was going to step back out. Who were you talking to?
Joe Hagman. I told him that he said, because he was one of the kids that called earlier, he said, what are you doing? I was like, well, I'm in here in this room, and they're just questioning me and stuff like that. And he goes, well, he goes, you're already getting too far into it. And I was like, well, I said, they needed it because because I'm a first-hand witness, they're going to want to record it and stuff like that. And he goes, you've already gotten too far. He said, tell them that I don't want to go that far with it. And I said, well, Joe, I said, you don't come in here and you don't tell them, oh, well, Brandon bad, this and that, and he did this and that bad. I said, everything I've told him is just everything about our past, growing up, stuff like that, how all of us are real close, like brothers and stuff. And then at the end of our senior year, things started getting ugly between, you, Brandon, and Dustin. And then after graduation, things started getting ugly between me and Brandon. I said, I said, everything I've told him is like things that he actually has done, that were wrong through school, and growing up. I said, you don't just come in here and start saying, well, Brandon, did this or that, I said, you just tell it factual, you tell it how it is. And so that's what I was telling to him, but he said that he still told me to tell y'all that he didn't want to go that far with it.
Well,
he was telling me.
If we feel like that we need to go that far with him,
yeah.
He's going to come in and he's going to cooperate. Because there are ways that we can get the information.
And I told him, he goes, well, that's why my dad wants me to go in there with the lawyer, because he said that he told his dad he just wants to stay out of it. And supposedly I don't have to answer any of y'all's questions unless I'm subpoenaed. I said, well, Joe, that's just a load of crap. It's going too far. It's like, just, it's no big deal. And so, but.
Well, we can subpoena him, you or him or whatever before the grand jury, and if you want a lawyer, they can sit out in the hall.
Yeah.
And then the grand jury can ask all the questions, or we ask the questions through the grand jury. And if somebody wants to do it that way, it's no skin off my teeth.
Exactly.
Because we're going to get the answers to questions one way or the other. We can do it in an environment like this, to where it's a comfortable environment where we can get you a Coke if you need, and you can get up and take a break if you need, or whatever. Or we can do it in a grand jury, room where you've got us and the panel and everything else asking questions, and
that's just the Hagemans for you, though. They think that they need their space. What I'm saying, they're real spatial, respectable, spatial, and he just don't worry about it. He's just one of the kids that he knows something that y'all want. He doesn't want to get too into it, so it's just.
This your work cell phone right here?
The 469 is. I have a little lead for the shop. Like I said, this line's usually forwarded to that because I'm out working in the garage somewhere.
Okay. Where were you this past Thursday? Were you working? Were you at school? Where were you?
This past Thursday, I was at work, and then later on, my girlfriend and I went to church.
Where?
Our youth church. Or are you serious?
Where do you, at this job right here?
Yes,
in
sir. I was
Rowlett?
at Rick. That day I had fallen asleep. I was supposed to go to physical therapy. I thought at 2, my appointment was moved to, I thought at 3, it was moved to 2, and I slept through it. And so I went straight to, and I missed the first job because of therapy, but missed it, so I went ahead and went straight. So I slept, went to Tomley's Motors, and then around 6, as always, every day I went over to her house, and then we left from there to church.
Okay. Where do you go to church?
Pure Heart Fellowship. And the youth group out there is the Pillar, led by Bo Douster. So.
Okay. And are you active in your youth group?
Now that I've graduated, I just, I show up for events, but it's just the youth group, not the college and career. But whenever I was a part of the actual youth, being in, high school, I was active. Yes, we'd go to certain events and we'd come back, and on Sundays, if they, Bo would always come and ask me, to, put something together to, tell the, to present to the congregation, something like that. And so I'd, do all that stuff, and I love doing that kind of stuff. So like I said, back when I was in high school and I felt that it was my part to be, to have an activity in it, yes, I was.
Okay. Where were you on Sunday the 16th?
Sunday the 16th, I was at my girlfriend's house, came home, and went to bed. So
all day you were at your girlfriend's house?
We went to church. Church lets out so stinking. Our church isn't even normal.
Okay.
Got out, went to her house. And
what time did it leave out?
Church lets out on average around 12:30 to 1.
Okay.
From there, I can't remember if we had lunch or some deal. Anyways, we're at her house. I usually on Sundays just stay in Rowlett until Awana's, which is at 4:45. Awana's start. We got to get there about 4:30. It's a little kids program.
No, I understand what it is. I know what Awana's is, but y'all are like leaders in it or something?
Yeah, she leads the little tots, the little guys. And then,
where does your girlfriend live? What's her address?
She has 2306 Brookside, and that's in Rowlett.
Is that the address that you were at?
Yes, sir. Because I don't know her dad's address. And, it's over off Dow Rock, but that's the one that I was at that day. We were there
until 4.
We usually leave because it starts at 4:45. We usually leave about 4:25, 4:30 because the church is right down down the highway from them. And then from there we left it's over about 6:30. We don't get out of there until about 6:45. It's past. She's at her. I'm trying to remember how things went now. After Awana's. After Awana's I go to her house, and the time I'm supposed to be out of her house on school nights is 10 o'clock. And here lately now that I'm having to wake up at 6:30 every morning, I'll be out of her. I'll be like, baby, I'm getting tired. I need to go home. It'll be like 9:30 that I'm telling her that. Okay. So I'll usually get home about, here lately now, like I said, I've been going to bed early. Getting up early. I'll usually get home around 10 and that's usually on every school night I'm home around 10.
Okay, so back to the girlfriend's house, and then you were home by 10.
Yes, sir. And that's just the general.
That's fine.
Now hold on.
What?
I'm saying I get this Sunday and the last Sunday mixed up.
Not 2 days ago.
Okay.
A week ago.
Okay. Yeah.
We
came home.
Okay.
Okay. Right after church, I remember because my mom woke up early that morning. She was like, "Come give me a hug," blah blah, and it was like, So she came to come up. She goes, "Didn't you give your mom a kiss anymore on the cheek?" So I gave her a kiss on the cheek. I was walking out and I said, "Mom, what y'all doing this afternoon?" Because they usually go to her fiance's mom's house for Sunday. And then that's whenever I'd said, "Well, me and Lindsay are going to try to come by here before y'all have to go." They ended up going to some party or a friend's birthday party. We said, "We're going to come by here." So me and Lindsay were out there, and during the daytime before Awana's, after Awana's, we stayed back at her house. Okay. But during the afternoon, I rode my horse, and she just talked to my mom all afternoon, practically.
So you were to girlfriend's house, and then at your house.
Yeah, this was this Sunday. You see, at her house. Remember, we played football throughout the afternoon.
Okay.
So that's how my ADD head works out.
That's all right. Don't worry about that. All right, you were at your house, then you go back to Awana's. 6:30, you're gonna leave the church, go to your girlfriend's house, home by 10.
Yes, sir. And that's usually every Sunday.
Now you're in college, so you don't have to check in or anything like that.
Not at all.
But
no.
by 10 o'clock, you're asleep.
No,
I mean,
I get
or
home
no?
about 10, and I usually, because I have to get home early, because once I get in the shower, I get my second wind. So I'm usually like in bed, lights out, 12 to 12:30, lights are out by then. So I've always been a late night.
All right. You can check with him, anything else, I think I've got what I need. And, but please, I mean, continue to let him know about, your history and stuff like that in high school and all, so,
I think pretty
whatever
much.
you need, Joel.
I'll do that with you just a second now.
Hey.
Still doodling, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna say real quick. Last thing I forgot to tell you about how, like, whenever I found out about all this, I texted him, and I'd saved that and I deleted it a few days ago. But I texted him, Brandon, because that's the only way he ever responds. Because if I ever call him, he's like, hello, hello, and hangs up. You know?
Right.
I texted him and I said, this is at school, around 9ish, I'm guessing. Yeah, probably around 9. Coming up on 9. I texted him. I said, hey, I heard about your parents. Are you okay? And then that's whenever he never replied back. I called him. Also, I called him earlier that morning, you know, like when we were walking up to the gym for the PE. And I called him, and then he didn't answer. Okay, so therefore I texted him after that because I knew the only way I'm going to get a hold of him is through texting.
Right.
And I was waiting all day. He never replied back. I didn't think he's ever going to. And then so later on that day I tried calling again, didn't answer. Called another time, figuring maybe if he thinks I'm calling all the time he'll just pick up. Didn't answer. Then I talked to Joe. He says, dude, I called off. I said, Joe, talk to him. Call him off of your new cell phone because he don't know that number. Calls and Brandon's like, who's this? And he was like, Joe was like, it's Joe. And he was like, who? And he was like, Joe. And Brandon was like, oh, hey, what's up? Like totally casual. Well, Joe and Brandon were just, So, anyways, they kind of made ends meet. Joe said that Brandon's going to tell him. Brandon was in a real short. Said, well, I have to call you back. I said, Joe, he's probably never going to call you back. Sure enough, he did. Joe called me back saying, yeah, Brandon called me, blah, blah. He said that we talked and stuff, and he was like, yeah, Brandon said that, Brandon said that, he was mad at Joe, okay, all that stuff, that it wasn't, he's like, I didn't really hate you and stuff like that. I didn't have anything against you. It was just on the surface. It wasn't me deep down inside and stuff. And so anything back in high school, don't, stuff like that, I'm over with, whatnot. Well, and then, so they kind of keep a little casual conversation. And Joe was like, I said, well, Joe, if you ever talk to him, tell him that, I just want to say his parents sorry, and he needs to answer my call. I'm not trying to talk to him and, buddy, whatnot. So I just want to call him, tell him the grievance and stuff. Well, Joe, once they started talking about me, Perry was like, well, from the very beginning, the very first conversation, he goes, he goes, I'm not going to call them other people back. And Joe was like, who? And Brandon goes, you know who, mentioning me and Perry, who've been trying to call him. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so then the conversation, he goes, well, Joe was like, well, what about them? He goes, oh, well, about them, he goes, I don't want anything to do with them. He goes, my family, they moved out of Rockwall, trying to get out of Rockwall. They just want to get away from there. He goes, I've tried everything I can to have everything that has to do with Rockwall out of my life and blah, blah. He goes, so for them, he goes, I want nothing to do with them. And so I was just kind of like, all right. Well, so I get on my the dirt seats in my first job. I get on their office line and I call him. He answers, and I'm like, hey, and he goes, and I was like, hey, and he goes, hello. I was like, Brandon. He goes, hello, and hung up. Okay, no big deal. I was like, all righty. Well, I was walking out of the office, and then Morgan, which is with him that day, called me and said, hey, I don't think Brandon really wants to talk to you right now. And she's like, blah, blah. I said, well, whatever he wants, I'm just trying to tell him sorry, and I have a few questions. My mom's wanting to know at the funeral, and people are just wanting to know he's okay. And then, Renee Dirksey, she's probably going to want his number to say, she's another girl that show horse with him and knew him. And she was like, well, he just doesn't want to talk right now. She's like, I'll ask him if he will. I said, well, whenever you talk to him, tell him that whatever I could have possibly done to really, get him after me. I said, tell him, I said, I'm sorry. I said, if that's what he's wanting is a stupid apology, I said, just give him that apology, okay? Tell him I'm sorry, whatever. Anything to do in the past to upset him, just tell him sorry. And she's like, all right, I'll tell him. Wait a couple hours, get on my work cell phone. Once I got home and picked it up and I was going to my outlet shop, called him on the work cell phone, and he didn't recognize the number, so he goes, hello? And I was like, so I changed my voice, I was like, hey, Brandon. And he was like, yeah. He's like, yeah. I said, is this Brandon Woodruff? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, so then that's when I started changing my voice back to normal. And I was like, hey, I just wanted to call and say I'm sorry. And he was like, hello, and hung up on me. Called him off the office line, my ground line. Same thing. Hello, hung up on me. So I just let it at that. So,
Okay.
That's about it.
All right, well, we appreciate you coming in here and talking.
All right, I'm sorry about all that deal and.
Oh, Mom's